Chapter 138. I was almost frightened by the faction head just now. Dongbui Shuang laughed at himself. He had already expected to be reprimanded and was very firm in his decision. But when faced with the wrath of a peak demigod, he still felt fear in his heart. It was like an ant in front of a huge dragon. Under the rage of the huge dragon, the ant could not help but lower its head in fear. But Dongbui Shuang was very determined and did not lower his head. Actually, Si Kongyang's words had caused Dongbui Shuang to reflect. Maybe he was wrong. But, even if he changed his mind, he would not change his mind just because of a few words from Si Kongyang. He had to think carefully and make his own decision. Would he lower his head under Si Kongyang's pressure? This was not Dongbui Shuang's personality. Using history as a mirror is not wrong. I should look at the records of our ancestors and the history of the Xia people. Dongbui Shuang thought to himself. The history of the Xia people was too long. The records of every transcendent were longer. Previously, he had only seen the records of those ancestors who had become demigods and the extremely famous demigods. He had not even seen the records of 99% of the demigods. Not to mention the saint and sky transcendents. I shall finish reading all the records of all the demigods in the history of the Xia people. Dongbui Shuang decided. Infernal Palace, Xia History Pavilion. A black-robed youth walked into this ancient pavilion. The pavilion was very quiet. Bookshelves were placed everywhere and every bookshelf was at least 100 meters tall. Countless golden books were placed on the bookshelves. These golden books were the records of every transcendent in the history of the Xia people. As vast as the sea. Dongbui Shuang sighed. In these 3,000 years, the Xia people had about 20 demigods. How long was the history of the Xia people? Even if a transcendent could read quickly, it would still take him the time to finish a cup of tea to finish reading the records of a demigod. Even if he did not sleep, rest, or cultivate at all times, he would still take a few years to finish reading all the half-deities' dossiers. And for transcendence, cultivation was very important. It was already very good if they could spend 2 to 4 hours a day reading scrolls. This would require tens of years. It had been too long. Most transcendents wouldn't even finish reading the demigod scroll. There were even more saint-ranked and sky-ranked transcendents. Therefore, the number of scrolls was extremely huge. Dongbui Shuang only dared to say that he had read through all the scrolls on the demigods. Fiery Night Shangguan Mei Jun. Dongbui Shuang picked up a thick golden leaf book and started reading. From then on, Dongbui Shuang spent most of his time in the summer pavilion flipping through the scrolls. Even when he practiced his spear arts, he did so in his own mansion. He did not enter the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world at all. Abbot Si Kongyang said that he was wasting the resources of the Xia people. In that case, he would not use them anymore. Dongbui Shuang was still a prideful person. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Impressive, impressive. Dongbui Shuang held onto the flask of wine as he drank. He sat cross-legged on the ground and flipped through the scrolls. He could not help but cheer when he saw the exciting parts. A man should live this life to his heart's content. Tap. 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 Suddenly, there were clear footsteps coming from within the pavilion. This caused Dongbui Shuang to turn his head in shock. There were very few transcendents who came to the summer pavilion. Even if they did, they would rarely make such clear footsteps. Dongbui Shuang looked towards the direction of the sound. A bald and skinny old man wearing slippers was walking over slowly. The slippers even revealed his toes. Vice Abbot Chao Qing. Dongbui Shuang stood up. He was very respectful towards Senior Chao Qing. The reason why he was able to become a substitute elder was because of Senior Chao Qing's recommendation. Sit. Make yourself at home. Young lad, don't be too restrained. Chao Qing walked over and sat cross-legged as well. He then sniffed and looked at the flask of wine in Dongbui Shuang's hands. Do you still have wine? Yes. Dongbui Shuang knew what to do. He immediately took out a flask of wine and placed it in front of Chao Qing. Chao Qing took it and gulped down 2 mouthfuls. His eyes brightened. This wine is not bad. It's strong enough. You sure know how to enjoy yourself. I heard that you didn't go back to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. I thought you were beaten up by Si Kong Yang. But looking at you, you are shaking your head while reading the scrolls. You seem to be in a good mood. If I'm in a good mood, I'll be in a bad mood for a day. Of course, I have to be in a good mood every day. Dongbui Shuang laughed. You're optimistic. Chao Qing nodded. Do you know why I'm here today? Dongbui Shuang was startled. He then replied awkwardly, I know. It's because I destroyed my own path towards the true meaning of water and fire. Wrong. Chao Qing shook his head. Dongbui Shuang was stunned. It wasn't because of this. Looking at Senior Chao Qing, he was already prepared to be reprimanded. It's because you didn't go to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. Chao Qing shouted. Don't you think you're an idiot? Even though you're currently ranked 9th, the various types of spirit liquids and fruits are extremely rare. Wouldn't it be a waste if you don't eat them? You must know that back then, this old man thought of all sorts of ways to let you become a substitute elder. If you don't eat them, wouldn't my efforts be in vain? This old face of mine, Chao Qing, is still worth those spirit liquids and fruits. Dongbui Shuang didn't know what to say at this moment. Faction head Si Kong Yang said that it was a waste of resources. But Chao Qing said that if he didn't eat them, he would be wasting his efforts. Vice faction head. Dongbui Shuang thought for a moment before asking. You're not angry. What's there to be angry about? Chao Qing grinned. If it was 300 years ago, I would probably be furious. But now that I'm nearing death, I feel that there's no need to tire myself out on the path of cultivation. Being happy is also a form of cultivation. If I were to start over, I might cultivate even more recklessly. Dongbui Shuang could feel Senior Chao Qing's carefree attitude. What are you thinking? Chao Qing asked curiously. By doing this, aren't you afraid that your cultivation will end up in a dead end? There were often transcendents who cultivated randomly. They would try to comprehend a little here and there. In the end, they would be unable to fuse them together and fall into a dead end. I'm afraid. Dongbui Shuang smiled. But I've thought it through. Firstly, I feel that my path of pursuing the pinnacle of spear arts is not wrong. I really like spear arts. Secondly, with the fusion of water, fire and wind, my improvement is extremely fast. I believe that within 30 years, I will be able to reach the 3rd level of realms of myriad existences. If I find that it's a dead end in the future, I would probably only waste 100 to 200 years. At that time, I would have enough time to start all over again. Right, it's good that you have this attitude. At most, I'll just waste 100 to 200 years. Chao Qing laughed. The profound mysteries of water and fire were also very close to the 3rd level of realms of myriad existences. Once he reached the 3rd level of realms of myriad existences, just by using the profound mysteries of water and fire to nurture his transcendent chi, he would definitely be able to step into the Saint Realm. During the transcendent battle of life and death, Dongbui Shuang's profound mystery of fire was already at the 2nd level of realms of myriad existences. This kind of talent was indeed terrifying. Stepping into the Saint Realm was as easy as drinking water. Of course, the Saint Realm was nothing much to the Xia people. Demigods were the true overlord existences. I was worried about you previously. But now, it seems like there's nothing to worry about. Chao Qing finished his wine and stood up. I can feel that you're filled with confidence. On the path of transcendence, confidence is very important. Only when you're filled with confidence, can you overcome all obstacles on this path. And if you don't even have confidence in yourself, how much can you achieve? I hope that your profound mysteries of water, fire and wind can create a new true meaning. Chao Qing sighed. It would be best if this old man can see it before I close my eyes. Dongbui Shuang was stunned. That's right, Chao Qing was too close to the end of his lifespan. Dongbui Shuang will definitely do his best. Dongbui Shuang replied. Good, good, good. Being young means you're always filled with hope. Chao Qing laughed as he turned around and left. Remember, when you go to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, finish all the food and drinks. If you don't eat, it'll be a waste. Yes. Dongbui Shuang respectfully replied. Chao Qing's figure had already disappeared at the corner of the street. Chapter 139. In the blink of an eye, another year passed. On this day, Dongbui Shuang was still reading scrolls. The more he read, the more he liked to read. This was because every demigod was a legend. Their experiences were extremely mysterious, allowing Dongbui Shuang to gain a deeper understanding of divinities and the dark abyss. On this day, Palace Head Hewen was pondering over spell models in the garden. Suddenly, the world projection of a divinity descended. This divinity was an ancestor of the Xia people, Emperor Yunhai. He was also an ancestor of the ocean deity Palace. Dongbui Shuang flipped through the scrolls of a demigod, who was also a palace head of the ocean deity Palace Head Hewen. Palace Head Hewen was overjoyed and immediately welcomed him respectfully. To be able to project himself in the mortal world, Emperor Yunhai was clearly much more powerful than when he became a divinity. Emperor Yunhai bestowed 3 top-grade secret techniques. Palace Head Hewen immediately asked Emperor Yunhai for guidance. Emperor Yunhai said, "If you want to become a divinity, I am unable to guide you. In the divinity world, I once gave guidance to a good friend who had just become a divinity. Who would have thought that this friend of mine would go berserk, his true deity heart would crumble and he would die on the spot. I was filled with regret. From then on, I understood that cultivation is very personal. In the early stages, I might be able to guide you, but the further you go, the less I can casually guide you. This is because every powerful transcendent and divinity has their own path. If I were to forcefully guide them, it would only cause them to be at a loss. If you insist on my guidance, I can only say, ask your heart. The stronger your conviction, the more determined you are, then walk that path. Perhaps this path might not be very successful, but if you become a divinity and walk your own path, at least you won't go berserk and your true deity heart will crumble. As for the detailed guidance on cultivation, I dare not say too much. If I do, I'm afraid that it will delay you." When Dongbui Shuang saw this, his entire body shook. Found it. The thing that he wanted the most, he found it. Emperor Yunhai was an ancestor who became a divinity. Moreover, it could even project a world projection. Clearly, it was a powerful god. Whatever he said, there must be some logic behind it. Shuang was incomparably excited. Over the past year, Dongbui Shuang had read many scrolls, and from them, he could feel the debate between the ancestors of the Xia people regarding the direction of cultivation. There were a few seniors who believed that cultivation should be done with the heart. Even if there were setbacks, they had to go through it themselves. In history, there were many heaven-defying demigods and even gods who had taken this path. However, most of the seniors believed that cultivation should have a direction and move forward step by step. Every time one comprehended something, one's strength would increase. Only then would it be more efficient. Most demigods did this, and there were quite a few deities who did the same. The latter method was more efficient. It could allow the Xia people to give birth to more demigods. This was also what the elders of the Xia people were guiding all the transcendents to do. But the truly heaven-defying ones mostly followed their hearts. For example, Qiu Qibai. Qiu Qibai first cultivated the ordinary profound mystery of wind of myriad creation, and then unexpectedly grasped the true meaning of space cleavage. In the future, he had the chance to become the world's #1. Thus, this type of cultivation that followed one's heart, in history, there were many heaven-defying people. For example, the strongest demigod in history, Purgatory Knight Jieli, followed his heart completely. Such a demigod could fight against a group of demigods. Emperor Yunhai is right. Cultivation is a private matter. I shouldn't forcefully give pointers. Dongbui Shuang calmed down. Even with Emperor Yunhai's strength, he wasn't willing to give pointers to a demigod for fear of misleading him. Although Si Kong Yang was strong, compared to Emperor Yunhai who could project a world, he was still lacking. If Emperor Yunhai was in front of him, he would probably encourage him to follow his heart. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. Recently, something big happened. The oldest among them, Situ Hong, had finally broken through to the third level of myriad creation. He immediately rose to the second position. In terms of potential, he had a higher chance of grasping a true meaning than Do Ruru who was ranked first. The third level of myriad creation. As long as he broke through one more step, he would be able to grasp a true meaning. Hua hua. From afar, two figures flew side by side. A man and a woman. The man was tall and handsome, while the woman was filled with endless charm. The two flew side by side. On top of a mountain far away. Dongbui Shuang, Yu Feng, Pu Yangbo, and Zhang Peng were eating and drinking together. Looking at this Situ Hong's smug look, I feel very unhappy. Pu Yangbo sneered, among the 9 of us from the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he is the most hypocritical. Who would have thought that he would be the first to break through to the third level of myriad creation? Strength and character have nothing to do with each other. Yu Feng laughed. AI. Zhang Peng sighed, why does junior sister Zhuai like him? Senior Zhang Peng, are you also thinking about senior sister Zhuai? Dongbui Shuang laughed and teased. The 4 of them had an extremely good relationship. Actually, Pu Yangbo and Yu Feng had a conflict with Situ Hong a long time ago. Situ Hong looked down on those who were weak, and he had previously looked down on Pu Yangbo and the rest. Ever since Dongbui Shuang destroyed his own true meaning of water and fire, Situ Hong and Dongbui Shuang had already fallen out. That's right. It's a pity that junior sister Zhuai doesn't like me. Zhang Peng was helpless. Who asked you to not be strong enough? From what I see, if your profound mystery of space could step into the third level of myriad creation, junior sister Zhuai would probably look at you differently. Yu Feng laughed. What's so good about that kind of woman? Pu Yangbo said with disdain, I don't even like her. I like her, but it's a pity that Situ Hong got her. Zhang Peng shook his head. Don't worry. Dongbui Shuang said, senior sister Zhuai's standards are very high. She is only closer to Situ Hong now. I dare say, if Situ Hong really wants to woo senior sister Zhuai, he would have to grasp the true meaning. Previously, when he was determined to destroy his own future, senior sister Zhuai immediately kept her distance from him. How could such a woman be easily wooed? Far away, Situ Hong and Zhuai were chatting and flying. Situ Hong even turned his head to look at Dongbui Shuang, and even sneered. Clown. Dongbui Shuang couldn't be bothered to look at him. He had never liked Zhuai. Currently, Zhuai was very close to Situ Hong, so he naturally didn't mind. The days of cultivation were very peaceful. It had been 6 years since Dongbui Shuang was demoted to the 9th position. Although Dongbui Shuang's strength was getting stronger and stronger, he was still ranked 9th. In this year, the Tranquil Sun province actually produced 2 new transcendents. One was the extremely young transcendent, Yuan Qing, who was only 30 years old. The other was Yu Jingqiu. What caused all the transcendents of the Xia people to click their tongues in surprise was that a province actually produced 2 transcendents in the same year. Chapter 140. Night, Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, Soaring Clouds Peak. Dongbui Shuang, dressed in black, was practicing his spear techniques. He loved to practice his spear techniques at Soaring Clouds Peak. Looking at the vast mountains, he was very open-minded. Ever since he abandoned all obstacles, no one could persuade him otherwise. The Xia People's Elders Guild no longer pressured him. After all, he was ranked last. If they continued to pressure him, at most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Since ancient times, it was rare for a substitute elder to be chased out. They had to show some respect to Chao Qing. The resources of the last place were the lowest. Thus, the Xia People's Elders Guild did not feel too much heartache. Take Chao Qing for example. Once he died, the resources he left behind would be left in the sect. Some would be given to the younger generations. Some would be left in the infernal palace. For Chao Qing, they could not force Dongbu Shuang too much. Without any obstacles, Dongbu Shuaying's days were leisurely. If he did not want to practice, he would go to the Xia History Pavilion to read through the scrolls or drink with his friends. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and came to Soaring Cloud's Peak to practice. Just like that, his spear techniques improved very quickly. Hong hong hong, Dongbu Shuaying's silhouette became blurry. Around him, a strong gust of wind blew. The spear caused layers upon layers of high-pressure shock waves in the air, causing the surrounding scene to become blurry. It was as if there was endless thunder. One after another, illusory Jiao dragons rushed out and flew into the sky. Each Jiao dragon was bigger than the previous one. When the sixth Jiao dragon appeared, it was about 10 feet long. It flew across the sky, traversed a few miles, and landed on a mountain peak. With a loud boom, countless rocks fell from the mountain peak. If other transcendents were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. This was because the shockwave created by the spear was already so powerful. It was unbelievable. Weaker Saint Primary Phase transcendents might not even be able to withstand such a terrifying spear. Suddenly, Dongbu Shuang stopped. The surroundings gradually quietened down. Even the peak of Soaring Cloud's Peak was silent. Wielding the spear with both hands, Dongbu Shuang had a smile on his face. 2 more arms appeared from beneath his armpits, and they were also wielding a black spear. Following that, 2 more arms appeared. These 2 arms were also holding onto a black spear. 6 arms. They all wore the same sleeves and held the same black spear. Water and fire as the bones, wind as the form. Well, I've managed to create this phantom. After half a year of perfecting it, I'm starting to be able to use it in actual combat. Dongbu Shuang was rather pleased with himself. The combination of illusion and reality, this is a good spear technique. The profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were perfectly fused together. This allowed Dongbu Shuang to discover more possibilities, for example, the phantom. He felt that this would be of great help to his spear arts, so he immediately immersed himself in pondering over it. Now, he had gradually gained some understanding. The illusory arms and the illusory spear were becoming more and more real. During a life-and-death battle, if I were to suddenly have 6 arms and 3 spears, the enemy would probably be scared silly. Dongbu Shuang was rather pleased with himself. Although the illusory arms and spears were all fake, they were able to confuse the enemy, causing them to not know which spear to block. Naturally, the threat of his spear technique would increase tremendously. Phantoms were actually extremely frightening. It would be hard for the enemy to differentiate the real from the fake. If they blocked the wrong spear, they might lose their lives. If they were to block 3 spears at the same time, the difficulty would be 10 times higher than blocking a single spear. Furthermore, this was only for now. Dongbu Shuang had only cultivated for a short period of time. With the perfect fusion of the 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind, he would be able to display even more terrifying prowess. Dongbu Shuang raised his head to look at the sky. It's almost daybreak. Today, we are supposed to welcome Mage Jing Qiu. I really didn't expect that the Mage Jing Qiu from back then would become a transcendent so quickly. To begin with, a mage would take a much longer time to become a transcendent than a knight. Among the mages, Jing Qiu was already considered very powerful. Whoosh! Dongbu Shuang immediately turned into a ray of light and flew across the sky. The place to welcome Mage Jing Qiu was still the residence of the Eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qibai. After all, Qiu Qibai was the leader of the group of transcendents in the Tranquil Sun province. Everyone respected him. At noon, Dongbu Shuang arrived slightly ahead of time. Snow Eagle, you're here. Brother Snow Eagle, have a seat. After more than 10 years, everyone was already very familiar with each other. Dongbo Shuang also smiled and greeted him. Although he had been demoted to the lowest position in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, the matter of him becoming a substitute elder had always been a secret and was never made public. In the outside world, countless transcendents still admired Dongbo Shuang. He was also very famous and had the title of a transcendent genius. Dongbo Shuang sat down cross-legged and smiled at a delicate youth beside him. Yuan Qing, you're here so early as well. I thought you would be cultivating in your own residence and only rush here at the last moment. Brother Snow Eagle, this transcendent battle of life and death doesn't matter. I just have to try my best. Furthermore, there's no rush in cultivating today. Yuan Qing smiled shyly. Wah, seeing Brother Yuan Qing's shy smile, I can't help but feel moved. Dong Yu shouted. Don't scare little brother. Qingling Shu hurriedly said. Dongbo Shuang smiled as well. Everyone had a good impression of the newly advanced transcendent Yuan Qing, including himself. This Yuan Qing had a rather shy personality, and his looks were extremely delicate and handsome. Among all the youths that he knew, his younger brother Qingshi was the most handsome he had ever seen. Perhaps it was due to his personal preference, but from the bottom of his heart, he truly believed that his younger brother was the most handsome. Those who knew his brother all said the same thing. Even Hai Ruzhen and Ziche Gufeng praised him after seeing him. And among all the youths he knew, Yuan Qing's appearance could be ranked in the top 10. Moreover, he was very handsome and shy. But he was also a genius who immersed himself in cultivation. Just like that, he cultivated all the way to the transcendent realm. He was only 30 years old. One must know that Dongbo Shuang only became a transcendent at the age of 28. Without Dongbo Shuang, Yuan Qing would be the youngest transcendent in the past 1,000 years. Sister Jing Qiu is here. Just as everyone was happily chatting, Peng Shan said. Dongbo Shuang and the others turned to look. Under the guidance of a guard, a beautiful green-robed female sorcerer walked over. Dongbo Shuang's eyes lit up. Even Peng Shan, Yuan Qing, Qi Qiu Bai, and the others were slightly surprised. So beautiful. Whenever they saw something beautiful in the world, they could not help but sigh in admiration. And at this moment, Jing Qiu was walking over, causing Shuang and the others to be stunned. Even though Shuang had seen Jing Qiu in the past, he was still stunned at this moment. One must know that female sorcerers were highly respected because of their temperament. Legend-ranked sorcerers had a lifespan of 200 years. 100 years old was equivalent to a 50-year-old mortal. No matter how well they took care of themselves, they would still look like a middle-aged woman. Even when they became transcendent, they would be reborn and become younger, but it would still be hard for them to feel like a young lady. But Jing Qiu was different. She became a meteor realm very young and became a transcendent at a young age. This kind of age was enough to defeat many female transcendents. Furthermore, after becoming a transcendent, she was reborn. Before becoming a transcendent, she was a peerless beauty with a good foundation. But after becoming a transcendent, she was a soul-stirring beauty. Just looking at her was a form of enjoyment. Amongst all the female transcendents in the Xia people with good looks and temperament, Jing Qiu would probably be ranked first. Jing Qiu stepped into the hall. Her gaze swept across and landed on Dongbo Shuang. Her lips curled into a smile. Finally, I have become a transcendent and can stand beside you. Chapter 141. How sharp were the senses of transcendence? Everyone instantly confirmed that Mage Jing Qiu was currently looking at Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang also felt it. Their gazes met. This feeling, Dongbo Shuang felt his heartbeat quicken. Sister Jing Qiu is staring at Brother Snow Eagle. Wow, both of them are from Azure River County, right? TSK. I'm afraid there's a story behind this. Peng Shan laughed. I think there's a story behind this as well. Looking at Sister Jing Qiu's eyes and Brother Snow Eagle's expression, woo-woo. I'm almost moved to tears. Qingling Shu said. Dongbui Shuang felt somewhat ashamed. Jing Qiu smiled. Dongbui Shuang saved my life before. A hero saving a beauty? Peng Shan stared. There really is a story behind this. Qi Qiu Bai shook his head. Jing Qiu, sit down first. Hai Ruzhen said. Yes, teacher. Jing Qiu said, then obediently sat down. Peng Shan shouted, Brother Snow Eagle, don't be so silent. Hurry up and tell us, what happened? How did you become a hero saving a beauty? At that time, Mage Jing Qiu and I received the same Black Iron mission. Dongbui Shuang said, during the mission, we met with some danger and trouble. In the end, only Mage Jing Qiu and I survived. I was lucky enough to save Mage Jing Qiu, but I almost died. Actually, since we are comrades on the same mission, helping each other is something I should do. It's nothing much. Only the two of you survived? Qingling Shu's eyes shone. That sounds very tempting. What happened next? A hero saving a beauty? Did the beauty repay him with her body? What are you talking about? Peng Shan stared. Is Sister Jing Qiu that kind of girl? It should be a secret love, and when the conditions are right, success will follow naturally. Sister Jing Qiu, Brother Snow Eagle, am I right? The other transcendents were still fanning the flames. All right, stop teasing my disciple. Hai Ruzhen said. After that mission, Jing Qiu stayed at the Eternal Wind Academy. Afterwards, I heard that Brother Snow Eagle fell into the Black Wind Abyss. Everyone was just joking. After a while, they changed the topic. As they ate and drank, they chatted casually. Soon, they talked about the transcendent battle of life and death. After all, whether it was Yuan Qing or Jing Qiu, both of them would be facing their transcendent battle of life and death. Little brother Yuan Qing, you've become a transcendent at such a young age. Set Snow Eagle as your goal. He's won 9 matches. Qingling Shu said. I'm not asking for much. You just need to win 6 matches. Little sister Ling Shu, it seems like you won a lot of money from betting on Brother Snow Eagle's transcendent battle of life and death. You want to continue winning. Peng Shan beamed, but Yuan Qing doesn't have a primordial bloodline. Winning 6 matches isn't easy. It's precisely because it wasn't easy that we lost so much, Qingling Shu said. You only know how to gamble. If you gamble too much, you'll definitely lose. Zi Che Gufeng shook his head. You're just jealous. This time, I didn't gamble a lot. It's only 50 gene of origin stones. The amount I won against Brother Snow Eagle is enough for me to lose many times. Qingling Shu said proudly. And if I win, he. Qingling Shu was a female mage. As a mage, she was very smart. Even if she gambled, she would control herself. In the Xia capital's gambling house, the ones who lost the most were the Transcendent Knights. Little sister Jing Qiu, how many matches do you think you can win? Qingling Shu asked. Jing Qiu lightly shook her head and smiled. I don't have any confidence. I might even lose the first match. You still have a long way to go. You still have a year to prepare. Qiu Qi Bai said. In this year, you might have a breakthrough. Winning 5 or 6 matches might not be impossible. Take Snow Eagle for example. During the transcendent battle of life and death, he had a breakthrough and reached the 2nd level of realms of myriad existences. Right, Snow Eagle, back then you were at the 2nd level of myriad existences. Now you should be at the 3rd level of myriad existences, right? The profound mysteries of water and fire are the 3rd level of the realms of myriad existences. Dongbui Shuang nodded. I guess so. You've just become a transcendent and you're already at the 2nd level of the realms of myriad existences. With your talent, it should be about the same. Qiu Qibai nodded. The profound mysteries of water and fire are mutually reinforcing and restraining mysteries. Using these 2 mysteries to nurture extraordinary Do Qi, I'm afraid it won't be long before you step into the Saint realm. Don't say that. We still have a group of Sky Realm Transcendents here. Dong Yu said helplessly. This really makes one feel powerless. In order to step into the second level of myriad existences, I have spent 160 years. Until now, I have not been able to step into the third level. Zone 2 sighed. A monster is a monster. All of them sighed. It was indeed a sigh. Usually, when one becomes a transcendent, they would only be able to attain one with the world, and not even reach the first level of the realms of myriad existences. Some of them had even reached the first level of myriad existences. To reach the second level was usually very difficult. Spending over 100 years was a normal situation. To reach the third level was even more difficult. Spending 500 to 600 years was also normal. At this time, nurturing extraordinary Do Chi would give hope of breaking through. However, just nurturing one of the ordinary profound mysteries of the third level of myriad existences would take a very long time. Some would not be able to break through even when they died. But Dongbui Shuang already had the profound mysteries of water and fire that had mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. His efficiency had increased by 10 times, and he would probably be able to step into the Saint Realm within 20 to 30 years. Nobody was jealous. Because during the transcendent battle of life and death, he was already at the second level of myriad existences. How could they compare? Saint Realm? Dongbui Shuang was very calm. After staying in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for a long time, and being taught by the two demigods, Gong Yu and Si Kong Yang, he had already subconsciously thought that the Saint Realm was nothing. 2 months later. Infernal Palace, Hall of Life and Death. An extremely lively transcendent battle of life and death was being held here. The main character was the extremely young and newly advanced transcendent Yuan Qing. Yuan Qing was too young, and was very close to the age of Dongbui Shuang. Naturally, it attracted many transcendents to spectate. There were even quite a few demigods who came. The mortals of the Xia capital were even more crowded. The entire Hall of Life and Death was boiling. Beautiful. Qiu Qibai, Peng Shan, Dongbui Shuang, Jing Qiu, Hai Ruzhen and the other transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were gathered together at the eastern viewing area, overlooking the ongoing battle. Yuan Qing's combat power was truly astonishing. Amazing. Qiu Qibai praised. Dongbui Shuang looked downwards, understanding in his heart, it seems that the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world will have another junior disciple. Yuan Qing had actually begun to fuse the profound mysteries of light and darkness together. Even though he was unfamiliar with it, it was not like when he created the water and fire twin dragon attack, a killing technique that fused profound mysteries together. But without a doubt, he had indeed begun to fuse them together. The true meaning of light and darkness is a grade 3 true meaning. It is 1 grade higher than my true meaning of water and fire. Dongbui Shuang smiled, but it is also a good thing for the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world to have a junior disciple like Yuan Qing. Dongbui Shuang suddenly realized a problem. The moment Yuan Qing entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, wouldn't he be ranked 10th? Who cares about him? In any case, he will be ranked last. Dongbui Shuang laughed at himself, beaming as he watched Yuan Qing's battle. Chapter 142. The power of the profound mystery of light and darkness was indeed astonishing. Even though he was unfamiliar with the fusion in the beginning, it still allowed Yuan Qing to win 6 transcendent battles of life and death. Even though he was not as dazzling as Shuang in the past, under the circumstances where he did not have any primordial bloodline, being able to fight his way to the 6th match at such a young age was already an amazing feat. Many transcendents sighed in admiration. Tranquil Sun Province seems to have produced many geniuses recently. That's right. Let's not talk about the Eternal Wind Knight, he's number 1 on the Saint ranking. Previously, Dongbui Shuang was also extremely monstrous, and this Yuan Qing is also amazing. Did you guys notice? Aren't the 3 youngest transcendents in 1,000 years Dongbui Shuang, Yuan Qing, and Qi Qiubai? It's true. They actually appeared in the same province. Looks like it's the Tranquil Sun Province's turn to erupt. The Transcendents discussed among themselves, treating it as a form of entertainment. After all, the Xia people were still very united. Some of the competitions between the 6 great transcendent organizations were also rather peaceful. Such matters could only be considered as gossip. Little brother Yuanqing, you're too ferocious, too awesome. Come, let this sister give you a kiss. Qingling Shu was so agitated that she wanted to hug Yuanqing, scaring him into hiding behind Peng Shan. Peng Shan shamelessly said, Sister Ling Shu, come, kiss me. I'm not in the mood to see that old face of yours. Qingling Shu pursed her lips and smiled at Yuanqing. Little brother Yuanqing, you and the snow eagle are my lucky stars. In the 2 transcendent battle of life and death, how much did you win in total? Qiu Qibai smiled. Dongbua Shuang and the others were curious as well. Qingling Shu squinted her eyes, feeling quite pleased with herself. Not much, not much. Adding up the 2 times, it's just over 500 kilograms of origin stones. Ha 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 ha. She couldn't help but laugh as she finished speaking. The others at the side were also quite envious. 500 kilograms of origin stones. The last time Dongbua Shuang won 9 rounds of the Transcendent Battle of Life and Death, he was only over 5,000 jin. But there was no point in being envious. Gambling. Transcendents were very vigilant, because there were too many examples of people falling into it. Everything went as expected. The second day, Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. From today onwards, our Scarlet Cloud Mountain will have another transcendent. His name is Yuanqing. Si Kongyang stood there, emitting a formless pressure. He was like the most dazzling sun in the afternoon. He was the most tyrannical and made people revere him. Yuanqing will be your junior brother. I hope that you can cherish this brotherly relationship. Of course, I hope that 1 or 2 of you can awaken demigods. I used to think highly of Dongbua Shuang. Si Kongyang swept his gaze across. Among the group of Sky Realm transcendents in front of him, Dongbua Shuang was sitting at a corner, keeping a low profile. Ever since faction head Si Kongyang and the others were completely disappointed, Dongbua Shuang could no longer be bothered to perform. Because no matter how outstanding his performance was, he would always be reprimanded, and would always be ranked last. Since that was the case, Dongbua Shuang could not be bothered to show off anymore. Yuanqing sneaked a glance at Dongbua Shuang. He was rather excited to be selected as a substitute elder. When he saw Dongbua Shuang, he was even happier. After all, even though he and Dongbua Shuang had only known each other for a short period of time, they had similar personalities. But Dongbua Shuang relied on his talent to cultivate recklessly. Si Kongyang said coldly. The path of the true meaning of water and fire was actually destroyed by himself. Until now, he is still unrepentant. Everyone went silent. Zhuyi glanced at Dongbua Shuang, who was sitting at the corner. She had once been moved by Dongbua Shuang. She felt that he was young and had extraordinary talent. In the future, he might even become a demigod. Even though he wasn't extremely handsome, his appearance wasn't bad. The more she looked at him, the more attractive he became. Furthermore, being young was always an advantage. Situ Hong, Zhang Peng, and the rest all felt that they were getting closer to middle-aged men. However, Dongbua Shuang was extremely young. It was a pity that he had destroyed his own future. Without his strength, he would be nothing. Situ Hong was secretly excited as he listened. He loved to listen to faction head Si Kongyang reprimanding him. The calmest person on the scene was actually Dongbua Shuang. After all, 6 years had passed, and his conviction was incomparably firm. In his heart, he understood, the reason why faction head Si Kongyang reprimanded him was because he hoped that he would repent and listen to him, starting all over again. After all, Dongbua Shuang was still very young. He still had time to start all over again. Yuanqing, your talent is extremely high. However, compared to Dongbua Shuang, you are still slightly lacking. Si Kongyang said indifferently. Therefore, all the more you must not act recklessly and destroy your own future. Yes. Yuan Qing hurriedly replied. At this moment, he was completely confused. He didn't know what had happened previously. How did Dongbui Shuang destroy his path of the true meaning of water and fire? He completely didn't know. However, Si Kongyang's aura was too tyrannical. Yuan Qing didn't dare to ask any more questions. He only knew that yes was the correct answer. A moment later, Si Kongyang left. Gong Yu spoke a few words before leaving as well. Yuan Qing, as a newcomer, was ranked 5th in the middle. Shuang, on the other hand, was naturally ranked 10th. This group of senior brothers and sisters also introduced themselves to each other. My name is Situ Hong. I'm the oldest amongst us. You can just call me Senior Brother Situ. Situ Hong was the first to stand out. He smiled and acted like a good senior brother. The others also introduced themselves one by one. Yuan Qing, I'll make a move first. Dongbui Shuang patted on Yuan Qing's shoulder. He immediately streaked across the sky and left. He couldn't be bothered to stay here any longer. He immediately left to read through the scrolls. And then Yuan Qing nodded. Last night, he and Shuang from the Tranquil Sun province had even spent the entire night drinking. Within the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, he was indeed closest to Shuang. Junior brother Yuan Qing, let me tell you. Situ Hong walked over and whispered, it's better for you to maintain a distance from this Dongbui Shuang. Maintain a distance? Yuan Qing was stunned. Situ Hong explained, he's arrogant and foolish. Didn't you hear what faction head Si Kongyang said? He was originally walking on the path of the true meaning of water and fire. Many people thought highly of him. However, he actually went to comprehend some profound mystery of wind. He created a combination of the profound mysteries of wind, fire, and water. It's such a mess that he destroyed his path of cultivation. Ah! Yuan Qing was slightly shocked. He didn't know about this before. What does senior brother Snow Eagle dare to do? That's why I said he's arrogant, foolish, and conceited. Situ Hong sneered, faction head has reprimanded him many times, but he still doesn't listen. Humph, he's still young and has plenty of time to be impudent. In the future, when he's weak and gets bullied, or even killed by some transcendent aboriginals, he'll no regret. Situ Hong, speaking ill of people behind their backs and cursing them, isn't that too much? Pu Yangbo sneered at the side. I'm just telling junior brother Yuan Qing some things. Situ Hong coldly glanced at Pu Yangbo. Yuan Qing silently watched everything. Foolish and conceited? No. Today was the first time he met Si Kongyang. In front of Si Kongyang, the pressure was too strong. Senior brother Snow Eagle actually dared to go against faction head Si Kongyang, and after such a long time, he was still the same person. This wasn't something that could be done by simply being arrogant. It required absolute determination and determination. Ordinary transcendence wouldn't have the courage to resist such pressure. Yuan Qing looked at Situ Hong beside him. He understood that senior brother Snow Eagle and this senior brother Situ Hong were two completely different people. Chapter 143. At most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. With such mental preparation, Dongbui Shuang was probably the most carefree out of all his fellow disciples in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. He would often sit alone in the Xia Pavilion, leisurely drinking wine and flipping through the scrolls. It was as though he had traveled back to the different eras of the Xia people's history, experiencing different stories. In the history of the Xia people, there were wars everywhere, large-scale invasions from demons, almost annihilation of an entire race, and the rampage of demonic beasts. Compared to some of the terrifying disasters in history, the current era was a very peaceful one. Furthermore, as time passed, the foundation of the Xia people grew deeper and deeper. Compared to some of the ancient heroes in history, I, Dongbui Shuang, am still too young and inexperienced. The more Dongbui Shuang saw, the more he understood how shallow he was. Although some of them were not able to ascend to godhood, it did not mean that they were weak. When they were demigods, some of them even had strength close to that of a god. Some of them fought against other races, some of them fought against demons, and finally died in battle. If they had enough time, some of them might even become gods. Half a year later, Jing Qiu also began her transcendent battle of life and death. Dressed in a green robe, Jing Qiu stood there, her fine black hair draping over her shoulders. She naturally emitted a faint cold aura, giving off a feeling that no one would dare to approach her. So beautiful. The Transcendents were somewhat shocked. Countless mortals were completely stunned. After stepping into the transcendent realm, one's hair, skin luster, and eyes would all undergo a transformation. That was why such a soul-stirring beauty could appear. A transcendent female mage, as long as she was not too old and had a decent appearance, coupled with the temperament of a transcendent female mage, she would usually have many pursuers. Jui sat and watched the battle, snorting coldly in her heart. It's just a face. It was not only Jui. At this moment, there were quite a few beautiful female transcendents who were also unhappy. Because they all felt a huge threat. Of course, most of the female transcendents were just envious. The battle began. In the transcendent battle of life and death, transcendent mages were at a disadvantage. They were forbidden from using any magic equipment, and could only use the most common of staffs. No wonder beauties are favored. Watching her fight is a pleasure. Dongbui Shuang smiled. He tried his best to remain calm, but in the depths of his heart, he had a special feeling towards Jing Qiu. Back when he first met her in the Dragon Mountain Manor in Azure River County, he already had that special feeling. Not good. Initially, there were a total of 5 demigods spectating the battle from the eastern viewing area. Suddenly, one of the red-robed demigods' expression changed and he stood up. Who? His figure flashed and disappeared from the Palace of Life and Death. The red-robed demigod soon arrived at a secret space within the Infernal Palace. A floating bridge pierced through the void. There were 3 figures standing on the floating bridge. The one in the lead was a black-haired old man, and beside him were 2 powerful demigods. Palace Lord. The red-robed demigod bowed respectfully. The black-haired elder nodded. Brother Shiyun, you also sensed it? I'm in charge of a portion of the Infernal Palace. Of course I can sense the vast and powerful ripples. The red-robed demigod nodded. Palace Lord, where did such a huge commotion come from? That's right. Palace Lord, where did the commotion come from? The other 2 demigods asked. This was the most secretive place of the Infernal Palace. It hid many secrets of the Xia people, and only the Palace Lord of the Infernal Palace knew about it. Because the Palace Lord of the Infernal Palace was the most loyal. The ancestors of the Xia people had left behind many methods. If one wanted to become the Palace Lord, they wouldn't even have the chance to betray the palace. Follow me. The black-haired elder said. The 4 demigods quickly followed the floating bridge and flew towards the depths of the void. Wherever they passed, there would occasionally be some powerful ripples. There were even some huge humanoid creatures lying in the void below. It's right in front. The black-haired elder said. Very quickly, he stopped. Ripples appeared in the void before dissipating, revealing the scene behind the ripples. It was a world of fluttering snowflakes. Amidst the countless snowflakes, a white-haired old lady walked out. Her hair was silvery white and combed very neatly. She had a smile on her face and looked very amiable. However, as she walked through the snowflake world, the 4 demigods who were watching felt suffocated. After sleeping for so long, I've finally woken up. The white-haired old lady smiled. Greetings, Senior Snow. The black-haired elder bowed slightly. Senior Snow. The other 3 demigods were confused. Could it be, the 3 of them knew many secrets? Very quickly, they found the truth from their memories. All of their expressions changed. This white-haired old lady was one of the strongest treasures of the Xia people. However, at the same time, it was also the most difficult to control. A normal deity weapon could be used by a normal demigod. However, the deity weapon represented by Senior Snow was not something a normal demigod could use. At least, the demigods of this era were unable to use it. Senior Snow was the weapon spirit of the deity weapon. For Senior Snow to awaken, there were two possibilities. One was that the deity weapon had sensed the arrival of a terrifying threat, one that would threaten the survival of the Xia people. Hence, the weapon spirit had awakened to warn them. The other possibility was that it had met a suitable master. Don't panic. The white-haired old lady smiled. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. The black-haired elder and the other three demigods heaved a sigh of relief. Bring me out first. The white-haired old lady said. Senior Snow, please. The black-haired elder immediately led the way and quickly left the secret space. The white-haired old lady relied on her senses and quickly arrived at the Hall of Life and Death. The black-haired elder and the other three followed beside her. At the same time, a spatial ripple enveloped their surroundings. As the master of the Infernal Palace. The Infernal Palace master was invincible within the infernal realm. He could easily isolate space, preventing others from seeing the four of them. Naturally, they could not see the existence of the white-haired old lady. Senior Snow, how is it? The black-haired elder asked. Found her. The white-haired old lady smiled and nodded. She looked at Jing Qiu, who was delaying the battle. Such a pure soul. She became a transcendent and borrowed the power of ice to evolve her soul. The white-haired old lady nodded. That's her. There's no doubt about it. The black-haired elder revealed a joyous expression. But she's too weak now. Only after becoming a demigod will she be able to unleash the full power of the clan's deity weapon. The white-haired old lady said. You Xia people have to nurture her well. There were many deity weapons. They all had their own uses. For example, the Infernal Palace was an extremely important deity weapon. It was a space-type deity weapon and even controlled the entire infernal realm. Senior Snow represented a deity weapon. The difficulty of controlling it was too high, but it was also the strongest one. If a demigod could unleash its full power, they would have the power of a deity. We will definitely do our best to nurture her. Tomorrow, I will send her to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. The black-haired elder nodded. And, only by sending her to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world will we have a reason to do our best to nurture her. But we still have to keep a low profile and not let others discover her uniqueness. The white-haired old lady asked. Oh right, what's her name? Jing Qiu. The black-haired elder said. Actually, he was having a headache. He could see that Jing Qiu would have a hard time winning the third round of the transcendent battle of life and death. Of course, for a young female mage, it was already not bad. But to become a demigod with just this? It was too difficult. But he definitely had to nurture her. Because the moment Jing Qiu became a demigod, she would be able to fight against a group of demigods. Finally, he finished this chapter. Who, pull down the recommendation ticket. Chapter 144. For a demigod to be comparable to a god? At the very least, nobody in this era could do so. Even Great Elder Ao Lan, who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning, was only ranked second in the demigod rankings. The group of demigod overlords at the apex all had their own specialties. Nobody could say that a single demigod would be able to defeat all the other demigods. Even a single demigod would find it hard to kill an apex demigod. From this, one could see how terrifying the power of this deity treasure of the Xia people was. Wielding it would allow one's combat power to surpass all other demigods. Comparable to a god. This clan protection deity weapon was not something an ordinary deity could obtain. It was the ancestor of the Xia clan who had thought of ways to send it back to their homeland as a clan protection treasure. But because it was too powerful, most demigods could not use it. Only those whose souls could resonate with this powerful deity weapon would have an easier time using it. Only demigods could use it. Ladies and gentlemen. A new meeting of the elders was held. The Infernal Palace head, the black-haired old man, said, Jing Qiu's importance need not be mentioned. This secret is only known by the elders of the Xia people. It must not be leaked. Right. As long as Jing Qiu becomes a demigod, then our Xia people will have given birth to a god with a lifespan of 3,000 years. These elders of the Xia people were all looking forward to it. Gods could not enter the major transcendent worlds, but demigods could. Jing Qiu could rely on that deity treasure to sweep across the major transcendent worlds, including the Beast Clan. For the Beast Clan and the transcendent natives to recover, it would take a long time. The most difficult problem now is how to nurture her into a demigod. The black-haired old man said, Everyone, let's work together and think of a method. We must do our best to nurture her into a demigod. This old man once obtained 3 icy fruits. Chao Qing's shriveled mouth laughed. I originally planned to leave one for that brat Dong Buishuang, one for the Water Daoist faction, and one for the Infernal Palace, but now, I'll give them all to that little girl Jing Qiu. These 3 fruits should be of great help to her. Brother Chao. Many elders of the Xia people tensed up. Chao Qing said it casually, but this frost fruit was the frost geocentric fruit. It was a spirit fruit that was born from the core of the frost world, one of the 8 large-scale transcendent worlds. Each one was worth more than 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. It was much more precious than Dongbui Shuiying's stone of oceanic boundary. Jing Qiu is quite talented, Chao Qing said. As a mage, she became a transcendent at such a young age. Even if we don't nurture her, she can still become a saint. As long as we do our best to nurture her, there is hope for her to become a demigod. However, the Beast Clan's infiltration of the Xia people is too great. Ao Lan's life magic can't be broken, and I'm afraid that the Beast Clan will find out about Jing Qiu's identity. Don't worry, it's definitely safe in the infernal realm. The black-haired old man nodded. Then what if she returns to her hometown? A senior elder asked. I think it's worth dispatching a deity warrior to protect her, the black-haired old man said. Yes. I agree. I agree. These elders all agreed. They had already treated Jing Qiu as the most important seedling. As for the other genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, no matter how powerful they were, it would already be amazing if they could produce another Mountain Lord He. They would not be able to change the situation of the entire world. But the moment Jing Qiu became a demigod, she would be able to change the entire situation. Sweep through all native transcendent worlds. Sweep through the Beast Clan. After some discussion, the Xia people's senior elders decided on a series of plans regarding Jing Qiu. For example, how to nurture her, how to guide her, and how to secretly use the resources. The resources of the other 10 genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world combined were far from enough to match up to Jing Qiu. This was something that even demigods would be envious of. The Xia people's senior elders were all willing to do this. Because it was worth it. If they succeeded, they could casually sweep through any major transcendent world and their harvest would be enough. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. This will be your junior apprentice sister from now on. Si Kongyang smiled. She will be the only female mage that our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world is nurturing. Because she is a mage, she will have a demigod mage to guide her. Jing Qiu. The group of transcendents stared in shock at the girl standing beside Si Kongyang. Dressed in green, her hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were like the stars in the sky. During the transcendent battle of life and death, her appearance was recognized by all the transcendents as the most beautiful. With the appearance of such a soul-stirring beauty, even Wen Yong'an and Wu Zong's eyes couldn't help but light up. So beautiful. Pu Yongbo was almost drooling. Situ Hong's eyes lit up, his heart itching uncontrollably. Wow! Yu Feng couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Ah, Mage Jing Qiu is here too. Yuan Qing thought to himself. Looks like she has some talent as well. Dongbui Shuang smiled as he watched. Interesting. Too interesting. When Yuan Qing joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he felt that it was very interesting. And when Jing Qiu also joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Dongbui Shuang was really excited. He felt that his cultivation days in the future would be much more interesting. Jing Qiu's gaze swept across the crowd and met with Dongbui Shuang's gaze. Her face was slightly red. According to the old rules, Jing Qiu will be placed in the middle, number 6. Si Kongyang said, she is a mage. Her improvement in power mainly comes from her research, which is different from the rest of you. Her demigod master will be the judge. You bunch of transcendents better not be overtaken by a female mage. Alright, you guys can get to know each other. After Si Kongyang finished speaking, he immediately left. Master Gongyu also left very quickly. Only a group of young transcendents remained. Among them, there were many male transcendents whose hearts were already itching. Although Zhuoyi's extreme body would produce a strong attraction for transcendents, this was a kind of life instinct. It was not something that came from the bottom of the heart. It was a kind of wholehearted love. But Jing Qiu was different. Her beauty and temperament would cause others to like her. Humans loved beautiful objects. Looking at her was a form of enjoyment. Junior Yu, my name is Pu Yangbo. Pu Yangbo was the first to speak excitedly. Just as he was about to say something, Sitahong grabbed onto his shoulder. A spatial ripple spread out, causing Pu Yangbo to stagger back 2 to 3 steps. This caused Pu Yangbo's expression to change. Sitahong smiled and said, Junior Yu, this Pu Yangbo has always liked to chase after female transcendents. It is best to stay away from this kind of person. I am Sitahong, and I am only a step away from grasping a spatial true meaning. I should be the fastest among us generals to grasp a true meaning. In the future, becoming a demigod will not be difficult. Sitahong tried his best to make his smile even more radiant and amiable. Yesterday during the transcendent battle of life and death, when he saw Jing Qiu, Sitahong became excited. She was too beautiful. She was simply the most perfect creation of the heavens and earth. Such a perfect creation, he definitely had to get his hands on it. But he also understood that he would have many competitors. He did not expect that Jing Qiu would actually come to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. That's great, the heavens are helping me. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, who else could compete with me? As for Junior Zhuoyi, who he had chased before, Junior Zhuoyi had always been hanging on to him. After so many years, he had not even held her hand. If he did not grasp a true meaning, Junior Zhuoyi would not even give him a chance. Now that he saw Jing Qiu, he had completely thrown Zhuoyi to the back of his mind. Senior Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu opened her mouth. Her voice was very pleasant to listen to. What? Many people were stunned. Sitahong was even more dazed. She called out, Senior Snow Eagle. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over Sitahong's heart. What a coincidence, to see you here too, Senior Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu took a step forward and floated in front of Dongbui Shuang. What a coincidence. Dongbui Shuang revealed a smile. Chapter 145. As the two of them walked together, a simple sentence broke the hearts of many transcendents beside them. There's no hope, there's no hope. Pu Yangbo muttered, listen, all of you listen. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. I can't take it anymore. Why don't the ones I like me? Because your eyes are too high and your legs are too short. Zhang Peng laughed, haven't you always wanted to find a wife? How many mortal beauties are there in the world? What I want is to grow old together. Do you understand? Pu Yangbo glared. Female transcendents were few in number. Beautiful female transcendents were even harder to pursue. I don't understand, but I know. If you continue like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to find a wife by the time your hair turns white. Zhang Peng joked. I can't be bothered to talk to you. The person I admire the most now is junior brother Dongbua. Junior brother, congratulations. You're really amazing. When are you going to teach me some moves so that I can successfully pursue a female transcendence? Pu Yangbo shouted. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. No, I and senior brother Snow Eagle have known each other since we were mortals. Jing Qiu said. Oh, so you've known each other since you were mortals. Looks like there's no hope for the other transcendents. Yu Feng said. Of course there's no hope. Pu Yangbo sneered, many of the transcendents had wives before. It's just that their wives died of old age. Losing to disciple brother Dongbo, I wholeheartedly accept it. Disciple brother Dongbo is a good person and he's also young. Oh, if I think about it carefully, disciple brother Dongbo should be younger than disciple sister Yu by 3 years. Yes. Dongbua Shuang nodded. But when senior brother Snow Eagle's name shook the entire Azure River County and killed Xiang Pangyun, I was still a Silver Moon mage. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbua Shuang and said, her eyes glowing. Her feelings towards Dongbua Shuang were somewhat complicated. Back then, he had saved her when she was in despair, and he was deeply imprinted in her heart. At the very least, she could not forget him. Later on, she often heard news about Dongbua Shuang. When she thought that Dongbua Shuang had died, she was devastated for a long time. Later, in the Xia capital, he saw Dongbua Shuang become a transcendent. Even the transcendent battle of life and death was dazzling. Genius. Amazing. In her heart, the person she admired the most was Dongbua Shuang, although there were more powerful transcendents, such as demigods. However, she had witnessed the rise of Dongbua Shuang, so this kind of worship was naturally nurtured. Especially when she saw Dongbua Shuang chatting happily with the other transcendents in the sky, she felt a little sad. Because she didn't even have the qualifications to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Because she was not a transcendent. She didn't look for Dongbua Shuang, instead, she immersed herself in research. Finally, 16 years after the transcendent battle of life and death, she finally broke through to become a transcendent. That day, in Qiu Qibai's mansion, when their gazes met, she was incomparably happy. Because, she could finally stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Junior brother Dongbua might have been dazzling when he was young, but now, he has gone down the wrong path. Situ Hong suddenly spoke, with a pained expression. Gone down the wrong path? Jing Qiu was startled. Yes, he destroyed his own future, and is destined to be a nobody with no future. At most, he will become a weaker saint transcendent. This caused the demigods to be extremely furious. Now, in our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he is ranked last. Junior sister Jing Qiu, now that you're here, he will be ranked 11th. Situ Hong said. What a pity, his original future was bright, but now, Jing Qiu couldn't believe it. The Dongbua Shuang that she worshipped really caused the demigods to be extremely furious, and he destroyed his own future. It's just a difference of ideals. The demigods are indeed furious. Dongbua Shuang nodded, then glanced at Situ Hong and sneered, Situ Hong, didn't you say before, that I, Dongbua Shuang, am not worthy to be your junior brother? Is being your junior brother a disgrace to you? Jing Qiu was startled. She wasn't stupid, and immediately felt that the relationship between the two wasn't right. Sigh. Situ Hong shook his head, junior brother Dongbua, you are after all a part of my Scarlet Cloud Mountain, so naturally, you are my junior brother. The reason why I said that before, was to encourage you. Just like how faction head Si Kongyang scolded you time and time again, it was also because I hoped that you would turn over a new leaf. Sigh, but from the looks of it, it's impossible for you to turn over a new leaf. I won't be a bad person anymore. Continue acting. Pu Yangbo sneered at the side, you discovered that junior brother Dongbua and junior sister you are close, so you started acting? Junior brother Pu Yang, I'm not acting. All these years, Dongbua is first from the bottom, and you are second from the bottom, and you guys don't care. I'm the oldest senior brother. I'm just anxious for you guys. Situ Hong said with a pained heart. When Situ Hong saw the conversation between Dongbu Shuaying and Jing Qiu, he immediately understood that the relationship between the two wasn't ordinary. So if he wanted to woo Jing Qiu, he had to change his plan. The mind of a transcendent changed very quickly, and he quickly decided on a new plan. Humph, Dongbu Shuaying, this foolish and arrogant brat, I'll coax you first. After I woo junior sister Jing Qiu, when she stands on my side, I'll ruthlessly kick you away. Situ Hong thought to himself. Interesting. Dongbu Shuaying suddenly laughed. The others all looked at Dongbu Shuaying. In terms of hypocrisy, Dongbu Shuaying looked at Situ Hong. Even if the rest of us in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were added together, we still wouldn't be able to match up to you. Situ Hong's heart was instantly filled with rage, but on the surface, he still maintained a smile. Forget it, just treat it as me looking down on you. I'm looking down on you. You're so frivolous, so lazy in your cultivation that even the demigods are heartbroken. How can I look up to you? If you want me to look up to you, you'll have to start all over again. At that time, faction head Si Kong Yang will give you another chance. Senior brother Snow Eagle, accompany me for a walk. I'm still not very familiar with the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu said. She also felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. After all, it was her first time here, and only Yuan Qing and Dongbu Shuaying were familiar with each other. She wasn't too familiar with the other senior brothers and sisters. All right. Dongbu Shuaying nodded his head. So. The two of them immediately soared into the sky. Situ Hong's face was slightly pale. Jue coldly snorted, then flew towards her own bamboo house. A certain someone doesn't even know how old he is, and he still dares to fight with junior brother Dongbu. His skin is really thick. Pu Yangbo sneered, then left with Yufeng, Zhangpeng and the rest. Just you wait, today is the first time I've met junior sister Jing Qiu. We're not that close. In the future, we'll be together in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, and we'll have a long time together. Situ Hong thought to himself. He had enough confidence that he wouldn't even look up to the other males in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. As for Dongbu Shuaying, from his point of view, Dongbu Shuaying was ranked last, and wasn't even worthy of fighting with him. Dongbu Shuaying and Jing Qiu were flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. The mountains were endless, and there was a layer of fog in between the mountains, making it look like a dream. So beautiful! Jing Qiu exclaimed. I really didn't expect this. Dongbu Shuaying laughed. We met during the first Black Iron mission, and now, we're flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu nodded her head lightly. Everything felt like a dream. That year, she was still a weak mage hiding under the protection of Dongbu Shuaying's body under the collapsed palace. Now, she was also a powerful transcendent, just that Dongbu Shuaying had clearly walked even further. Senior brother Snow Eagle, can you tell me about it? How did you enrage the demigods? Jing Qiu asked. Chapter 146. Infuriate them? Dongbu Shuaying laughed. He did not hide anything and told her everything. Jing Qiu listened by the side. She heard Dongbu Shuaying say, become stronger for the sake of becoming stronger. Cultivate for the sake of cultivating. I feel that such days are a form of torture, because of the passion in my heart, I am able to move forward fearlessly. Each and every one of those words, Jing Qiu could feel Dongbu Shuaying's firm conviction in his heart. This conviction was incomparably strong and firm, and nobody could shake it. Am I being too arrogant? Dongbu Shuaying laughed. No. Jing Qiu shook her head lightly. Oh? Dongbu Shuaying was slightly surprised. Among transcendents, at least 7 or 8 out of 10 would think that he was being too arrogant. Jing Qiu smiled. I can feel senior disciple brother Shuaying's confidence. Even if faction head Si Kong Yang reprimanded you, it has already been more than 6 years, and senior disciple brother Shuaying still has no regrets. I knew it. Senior Snow Eagle's choice should be right. Ha ha ha. Dongbo Shuang laughed. I really didn't expect that so many people think I'm wrong, but you actually agree with me. Dongbo Shuang looked at the boundless mountain range and said in high spirits, what you said is right. 6 years have passed, but I don't have any regrets. Because I believe that my current Tao path is far more perfect than the true meaning of water and fire. Let's wait and see. Time will prove everything, Dongbo Shuang said confidently. I will wait for Senior Snow Eagle to grasp a high-grade true meaning, Jing Cho said. Beauty lies in the eyes of a lover. By the same logic, the moment a woman developed feelings of admiration for a man, she would naturally stand by his side. Even if faction head Si Kongyang and the others reprimanded her, she would still be willing to stand by Dongbo Shuaying's side. Hoo! The two flew side by side. Look! Dongbo Shuang pointed at the towering mountain in front of them. That is the Soaring Cloud Peak, my favorite mountain. I usually train my spear techniques here. Soaring Cloud Peak. Jing Qiu's eyes brightened as she looked up at the mountain peak. In her eyes, this precipitous mountain peak was as proud and aloof as Shuang. Disciple brother Shuang, can I go up and take a look? Of course, anyone can go up. Dongbo Shuang laughed. The two immediately flew towards the Soaring Cloud Peak. *****, the entire Xia clan was as peaceful as ever. Among the group of young transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Zhang Peng continued to crazily pursue disciple sister Zhuyi, but disciple sister Zhuyi did not even look at him. Situ Hong, on the other hand, was fawning over little junior sister Jing Qiu. He had a graceful demeanor, showing concern for her in all aspects, but Jing Qiu had always maintained a distance from him. As for the last-ranked Xia people, he was the most fanatical in his cultivation. Other than spending part of his time reading scrolls in the Xia History Pavilion, he spent the rest of his time cultivating in the Soaring Cloud Peak. This level of fanaticism made the other young transcendents speechless. They were puzzled. Wasn't it tiring to cultivate so crazily? Shouldn't there be tension and relaxation during cultivation? Wouldn't he go crazy if he kept forcing himself and his nerves were always stretched taut? But in reality, Dongbo Shuang had never felt tired. Because he had always been fanatical about it. What he cultivated was what he loved, what he was addicted to. At the peak of the Soaring Cloud Peak, the sunset glow shone on the distant mountain peak. It was a beautiful sight. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in white, was sitting on the ground. A huge conical spell model was floating in front of her. She stared at the spell model, and from time to time, a part of the spell model would collapse and reform. After pondering for a long time, she raised her head and looked at the young man in black who was walking on the peak. She couldn't help but have a sweet smile on her face. Dongbo Shuang seemed to have sensed something. He looked at Jing Qiu and smiled as well. Ever since Jing Qiu came, the reason why he cultivated so passionately was because Jing Qiu was accompanying him. Jing Qiu also liked to come to the Soaring Cloud Peak. She did not disturb Dongbo Shuang. Instead, she studied the nature of heaven and earth and pondered over the spell model. Dongbo Shuang, on the other hand, was studying the spear. The two did not speak much. They cultivated on their own. But when their gazes met, they could feel each other's thoughts. Occasionally, they would have a casual chat. In their lonely cultivation, they had become each other's confidants and companions. As time passed, both of them understood each other's feelings. Dongbo Shuang had indeed fallen in love with Jing Qiu. When they first met, his heart was moved. Moreover, they were confidants in cultivation. As time passed, their feelings for each other deepened. Jing Qiu had already fallen in love with Dongbo Shuang. After spending some time with him, her feelings for Dongbo Shuang grew deeper. Although both of them had feelings for each other and knew each other's feelings, they did not plan to get married immediately. As transcendents, they had long lives. They preferred to let their feelings for each other take their course. When they felt that it was time for them to get married, they would probably get married. As for now, both of them needed to spend a lot of time on cultivation. They were not in a hurry to get married. What's wrong? Dongbui Shuang walked on the mountain peak in distress. Suddenly, another Dongbui Shuang appeared beside him. Following that, another Dongbui Shuang squatted beside a rock not far away. 3 Dongbui Shuang were on the mountain peak. One was walking, one was lying down, and one was squatting. They were either frowning in deep thought, feeling troubled, or mumbling to themselves. I've already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences. In terms of illusions, it should be not bad. But in terms of offense, it's still lacking. One of the 3 Dongbui Shuang lightly pierced out with his finger. The finger pierced out. It was as if wind, fire, and water were intertwining around the finger. It was as if nothing could stop it. It pierced through the air, creating a visible shockwave. This shockwave traveled through several kilometers and landed on a tall mountain. With a pu sound, the shockwave directly pierced a deep hole on the mountain wall, so deep that one could not even see the bottom. Just the power of a finger was much stronger than some complete grade 9 or 8 true meanings. This is not what I want. The spear technique I want, this stab, should be even purer. Everything is one, this stab will be unleashed. The 3 Dongbui Shuang were all mumbling to themselves. I can't understand at all. Suddenly, the other 2 Dongbui Shuang disappeared, leaving only one Dongbui Shuang sitting on a rock. Taking out a flask of wine, he raised his head and gulped it down. At this moment, Jing Qiu, who was beside him, stopped. The spell model floating in front of her also dissipated. She smiled at Dongbui Shuang, senior disciple Snow Eagle, don't force yourself too much. In terms of combat power, the others in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world are no match for you. If you are so disappointed, shouldn't the others find a piece of tofu to kill themselves? Find a piece of tofu to kill themselves? Dongbui Shuang raised his head and looked at Jing Qiu, laughing. Jing Qiu, I have never thought of comparing myself with others. I just feel that my profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind have already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences, and I have even fused them together. This feeling of imperfection is like having a fly in a pot of soup, making me feel uncomfortable. Then you have to work hard. I can only cheer for you from the side. Jing Qiu laughed. Her eyes were filled with a trace of worship. As a powerful transcendent mage, she would naturally quantify Dongbui Shuang's combat power. Dongbui Shuang was too lazy to reveal his strength in front of the other demigods. Thus, Jing Qiu was the only one who knew how powerful he was. After quantifying his strength, Jing Qiu was clear that even though the other 9 transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were outstanding, Dongbui Shuang had already surpassed all of them. First chapter. Chapter 147. Senior Snow Eagle's fusion of the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind is so powerful that it feels like the profound mysteries of a grade 2 true meaning. Jing Qiu deduced. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Yuan Qing, Wutsong, Wen Yong'an, and Situ Hong had all comprehended the profound mysteries of a grade 3 true meaning. As long as one compared them, one could see that there was a clear gap between them and Dongbui Shuang. From this point, if the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were to form a true meaning in the future, it should be a grade 2 true meaning. Where can it be perfected? This stab, why can't it be pure? All myriad existences as one, stabbing out. Dongbui Shuang drank his wine, frowning as he tried again and again with his fingers. Jing Qiu watched silently from the side. No one in the history of the Xia clan has ever walked down this path. Disciple Brother Shuang, walking down a new path of comprehending a grade 2 true meaning is extremely difficult, and nobody can help you. You can only rely on yourself. But I believe that you can do it. Hu. Dongbui Shuang's figure split apart, revealing 3 black-robed Dongbui Shuang. Each Dongbui Shuang had 6 arms, and the 3 of them were scattered around the mountain peak. Each of their arms were stabbing out with their fingers, trying to improve their spear techniques. Illusory coexistence. Illusory images are ultimately unorthodox techniques meant to aid me in combat. Dongbua Shuang muttered to himself, it's meant to allow me to display a greater threat during combat. It's just a form of support. The most fundamental aspect of my combat is still to display my strength. This stab, how can it be perfected? See law. With a stab of his fingers, the air distorted and was torn apart. Dongbua Shuang pondered. Reaching the third level of myriad existences, the embryonic form of a true meaning would be formed. At this point, he should be able to vaguely see his own path of true meaning. Because after reaching the third level of myriad existences, was grasping hold of true meaning. Only when this stab is perfected can my third level of myriad existences be considered complete. Dongbua Shuang was looking forward to it. As his cultivation increased, it was clear that he was getting closer to true meaning. What? Heavens! Knight of the everlasting wind, he became a demigod. This piece of news spread across the entire Xia people like a whirlwind. Even the transcendent natives and the beast clan received the news. The entire world shook. Dragon Mountain Calendar, year 9661, March 3rd. On this day, Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai became a demigod. This day was destined to be recorded in the history of the Xia people. Other than the beast clan's great elder Ao Lan, there was finally another demigod who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. Furthermore, it was different from elder Ao Lan's true meaning of life, which was more mysterious and unpredictable. Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai's true meaning of space cleavage was a true meaning that was extremely ferocious in battle. Dong dong dong, on this day, the drums of the infernal palace resounded, shaking the heavens and earth. The entire Xia capital was in jubilation. The human transcendents were all very proud and excited, they all agreed that Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai should have the strength of the top 10 demigods. In a few hundred years, he would probably be ranked first on the demigod list. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, halfway up the Bamboo House Mountain, Dongbua Shuang and the other transcendents were gathered here. He's here. Eternal Wind Knight is here. Dongbua Shuang, Jing Qiu and the other transcendents raised their heads to look. In the distance, there were 4 figures flying side by side, just like 4 deities. The one leading them was the infernal palace head. Although his combat power was relatively weak, firstly, he was unparalleled in the infernal world. Secondly, he had truly dedicated himself to the Xia people. Naturally, his status was special. Beside the infernal palace head were Si Kong Yang, Qiu Qi Bai and Gong Yu. Eternal Wind Knight is really handsome. Senior apprentice Sister Zhui Yi's eyes lit up. Compared to Eternal Wind Knight, Situ Hong and Dongbua Shuang are far too lacking. They are too immature. Humph, Situ Hong glanced at Zhui Yi and thought, do you think Eternal Wind Knight will look up to you? Ever since Situ Hong started pursuing Jing Qiu, he and Zhui Yi had completely parted ways. This is my chance. Eternal Wind Knight is the only demigod who has grasped hold of a branch of the true meaning of space. Situ Hong's eyes lit up. His guidance will be 100 to 1,000 times better than the guidance of other demigods. I must grasp this chance. They're here. This is our chance. Zhang Peng, Pu Yangbo and Yu Feng were all excited. After all, they were all comprehending the profound mysteries of space. So. For demigods descended from the sky. Greetings to the 4 seniors. Dongbua Shuang and the other transcendents bowed respectfully. Your luck is extremely good this time. Faction head Si Kong Yang said, Eternal Wind Knight has just broken through to become a demigod and needs to consolidate his foundation. Thus, we allowed him to come to this Scarlet Cloud Mountain world to meditate. He will also give you a few pointers. He is the only demigod of our Xia people who has grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. Humph, speaking of which, Situ Hong, Zhang Peng, the 2 of you should be around the same age as Eternal Wind Knight, right? Situ Hong and Zhang Peng turned silent. That's right, they were just over 300 years old. Eternal Wind Knight is already a demigod, yet the 2 of you have yet to comprehend a true meaning related to space. Si Kongyang swept his gaze across, pausing on Dongbui Shuai for a moment. As for the others, all of you should focus on going against the style of a high official. Si Kongyang then looked at Qi Qiu Bai with a smile. How you want to guide these little fellows, it's up to you. If you don't have the time and are too lazy to guide them, then it's up to you. Qi Qiu Bai would very likely become the #1 expert under the heavens in a few hundred years. Naturally, everything would be decided by Qi Qiu Bai. I didn't know that our Xia people have a plan to groom substitute elders. Qi Qiu Bai smiled as he swept his gaze across. Snow Eagle, Mage Jing Qiu, Yuan Qing, I didn't expect the three of you to be in the list of substitute elders. It seems that our Tranquil Sun province has many talents. This is bad. Situ Hong's heart sank. From the looks of it, Qi Qiu Bai and Dongbui Shuai had a good relationship. Snow Eagle, you're actually ranked first from the bottom? Qi Qiu Bai laughed. This time, when I came to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, I knew your ranking in advance. When I saw that Snow Eagle was ranked first from the bottom, I was shocked for a long time. I'm ashamed. Dongbui Shuai shook his head helplessly. This Dongbui Shuai is too arrogant and conceited. Faction head Si Kongyang said coldly. He cultivates as he pleases. He actually broke his own true meaning of water and fire. Furthermore, I gave him a direction to cultivate, but he completely ignored it. Right, this Dongbui Shuai is too impudent. Gong Yu agreed. Faction head, I don't agree with your way of thinking. Qi Qiu Bai said. Faction head Si Kongyang was stunned. Everyone else was stunned. Zhua Yi, Wen Yong'an, Do Ro Ro, Yuan Qing, Jing Qiu, Wu Cong and the rest were all shocked at this scene. In public, Qi Qiu Bai actually directly denied faction head Si Kongyang's words. If Dongbui Shuai dared to talk back, faction head Si Kongyang would definitely reprimand him. But now that Qi Qiu Bai refuted him, faction head Si Kongyang was momentarily speechless. Because of the difference in their statuses. Qi Qiu Bai's current strength was extremely high. It was very close to Si Kongyang's. In the future, he would become the #1 under the heavens, surpassing even Mountain Lord He. For such a person, anyone would have to think twice before saying anything. Eternal Wind, you don't agree with what I said? Faction head Si Kongyang asked. His attitude was completely different from how he treated Dongbui Shuai. Cultivation is a very personal matter. Qi Qiu Bai sighed. Cultivation is the convergence of a person's wisdom, perception, and comprehension of life. I don't agree with others setting a direction for themselves. That is too reckless. Chapter 148. Reckless? How so? Abbey head Si Kongyang frowned. Cultivators have worked so hard to become transcendents. How can others set a direction? Qiu Qi Bai said, if the direction is wrong, who will be responsible? Abbey head Si Kongyang was startled. He then sneered, if a senior sets a direction, the chances of success will be higher. If you cultivate blindly, the chances of failure will be higher. If you choose wrongly, you will have to bear the consequences. There is nothing to say. Why should a senior set a direction for me? I worked so hard to become a transcendent. Why should my cultivation direction be set by a so-called senior? Qiu Qi Bai retorted, Dongbui Shuai has become a transcendent. He should walk his own path. Why must you force him? Si Kongyang said, you clearly know that he is going to take a detour. Why do you want to watch him walk? Qiu Qi Bai's voice was very soft, if we don't even have freedom, how can we be called transcendents? Being a mortal is more carefree than being a transcendent. If I was given a chance, I would rather be a mortal. Abbey head Si Kongyang went silent. He understood Qiu Qi Bai's feelings. He remembered that figure holding a long blade and laughing in the rain. He remembered that figure whose hair turned white overnight. Sigh. Si Kongyang sighed in his heart. Everyone. Qiu Qibai swept his gaze across the 11 people in front of him. His eyes were filled with pressure. Qiu Qibai will guide you in the next half a year. I am a straightforward person. If I can guide you, I will not hide it. However, I will remind you to ponder over it. Your path is for you to walk. No matter if it is good or bad, you will have to bear the consequences yourself. Zhangpeng, you are proficient in the profound mysteries of space edge? Qiu Qibai looked at Zhangpeng. Yes. Amongst the group, Zhangpeng was slightly nervous. My true meaning of cleaving space is somewhat similar to your space edge. Qiu Qibai smiled, attack me with your full strength. Qiu Qibai was a very competent leader. At least, he was much more competent than Gong Yu and Si Kong Yang. This was also the difference in their horizons. Gong Yu, Si Kong Yang, and the others had comprehended weaker true meanings. Facing the guidance of Grade 3 and Grade 2 true meanings, they could only rely on their experience to guide them. Zhangpeng, I think your space blade is quite intelligent, but it's not overbearing enough. Qiu Qibai smiled and said, you can spend more effort on the tyrannical Tao. Of course, this is just my suggestion, it's up to you whether you want to listen or not. You have to remember, any decision, in the end, is made by yourself. Once you've made your decision, you have no regrets. Yes. Zhangpeng nodded. His eyes were bright, as if he had understood something. Yu Feng, attack me. Qiu Qibai said. Yu Feng attacked. Moments later. Interesting. Qiu Qibai was a bit excited, your shadow space mysteries are very mysterious. I think you should develop this kind of sinister attack method even more. Carry forward. Yu Feng was a little puzzled. Right, you have to immerse yourself in it and make yourself a part of the shadow space. Qiu Qibai said, when that time comes, your attacks will be even more stealthy and sinister. At that point, you should be able to grasp the true meaning of shadow space. This is just my suggestion. What you should do is up to you. Yu Feng immediately nodded thoughtfully. Very soon, Pu Yangbo attacked again. Pu Yangbo? Qiu Qibai asked doubtfully, I feel that you have a great talent in teleportation. Furthermore, you are very agile and free when using it. You should like teleportation a lot, right? Yes. Pu Yangbo nodded, I like teleportation the most. I don't really like it when it comes to life and death battles. Then why are you trying to attack now? Using the profound mysteries of space on your attacks? Qiu Qibai asked back. I'm not attacking. My combat power is too weak. Pu Yangbo was doubtful. You have yet to grasp the true meaning. Qiu Qibai said, it's still the early stage of cultivation. There's no need to pursue strength. Since you like teleportation and have a talent in it, then put all your effort into teleportation. Once you reach the pinnacle of teleportation, you will be extremely terrifying. You will definitely be able to grasp the true meaning. Teleportation had different levels of proficiency. The weaker ones, like some demigods, would first tear through space and create a pathway before teleporting to another location. The more powerful ones would use their senses to lock onto a distant location and teleport there. The more powerful ones could teleport with a single thought. The more monstrous ones could teleport even when the space trembled during battle. Last one, Situ Hong. Qiu Qibai said. Situ Hong immediately attacked with all his might. He was at the third level of realms of myriad existences and was obviously much more powerful. After a while, he retracted his attack confidently. Eternal Wind, Situ Hong is the one with the highest realm amongst the four that specializes in the profound mysteries of space. He is already at the third level of realms of myriad existences. He is just a step away from grasping the true meaning. Si Kong Yang, who was at the side, said, you have to guide him well. Situ Hong looked at Qiu Qibai with even more anticipation. Qiu Qibai was silent. Senior Eternal Wind? Situ Hong could not help but shout. Qiu Qibai frowned and muttered, I am unable to guide you. Unable? Situ Hong was stunned. Senior Eternal Wind, how is it possible that you are unable to guide me? Your realm is so much higher than mine. I hope you can give me some simple guidance. Eternal Wind, why don't you tell me his weakness? Faction head Si Kong Yang frowned and said. He was very optimistic about Situ Hong because he was the only third-level realms of myriad existences other than Dongbu Shuang. Situ Hong also looked at Qiu Qibai with longing. All right. Qiu Qibai muttered and finally said, Situ Hong, your problem lies in your heart. Heart? Situ Hong was puzzled. I have always felt that the Tao and the heart are in harmony. Qiu Qibai said, but you, the Tao and the heart are not in harmony. What, the Tao and the heart are in harmony? Situ Hong was puzzled. Eternal Wind, is the Tao and the heart so important? It is merely grasping a single true meaning. Faction head Si Kong Yang frowned. Tao and the heart are in harmony was a must to condense a true deity heart. He was a powerful existence who had condensed a true deity heart, so he was very clear on this point. But just grasping a true meaning, was there a need to have such a high requirement of Tao and the heart being in harmony? Qiu Qibai shook his head. I feel that it is very important. If it is an ordinary profound mystery, then the difficulty would be low. But the true meaning of space is a grade 3 true meaning. Such a difficult true meaning, if one's heart is not sincere, wanting to comprehend it? Difficult. What is Tao and the heart being in harmony? Situ Hong anxiously asked. The Tao and the heart being in harmony is the Tao you cultivate. It is the Tao that you are determined to love. Qiu Qibai said, even if you do not like it in the past, you will gradually change your way of thinking during the process of cultivation, allowing yourself to fully immerse yourself in this profound mystery. I like it very much. Situ Hong was anxious. Let me ask you, do you really like the profound mystery of space from the bottom of your heart? Qiu Qibai looked at him, his gaze seemingly penetrating his soul, and not just treating it as a cultivation method. Situ Hong wanted to lie, but under Qiu Qibai's gaze, he was unable to do so. Lying is very easy, but it is impossible to hide in a battle. Qiu Qibai shook his head. From your battle style, your nature is more sinister and cunning. There are sinister and cunning demigods, deities, and even the great demon god, but the profound mystery of space is a profound mystery that can suppress an opponent head-on. First, one's state of mind must be upright and upright. Your nature is more sinister and cunning. It is not suitable for the profound mystery of space that can suppress an opponent head-on. Qiu Qibai shook his head. That is why I said that your path of cultivation will become narrower and narrower. The third chapter. Chapter 149. The path of cultivation gets harder and harder. For others, the difficulty increases by 10 times. But for you, it increases by 100 times. Qiu Qibai said, it is because your Tao and heart are incompatible. When you condense the true deity heart, there is no hope at all. In the legends, if the Tao and heart are incompatible, the deity heart will collapse, and you will die from qi deviation. Situ Hong's face turned pale. He could tell that Qiu Qibai was not lying to him. Tao and heart becoming one, that is condensing the true deity heart. Faction head Si Kong Yang shook his head. Situ Hong, you don't have to despair. Right now, you are only condensing your true meaning. You are already at the third level of realms of myriad existences, and you are only one step away. Right, I am only one step away. Situ Hong nodded. I will definitely succeed. How long did you take to advance from the second level to the third level? Qiu Qibai snorted. I dare say that you will need at least 10 times the time to grasp the true meaning from the third level of realms of myriad existences. Situ Hong was stunned. At least 10 times? He had been stuck at the second level of realms of myriad existences for too long, more than 200 years. One must know that even a saint transcendent only had a lifespan of 1,500 years. He did not have enough time to grasp the true meaning. Back then, you relied on the profound mystery of space to become a transcendent. Si Kongyang frowned, you have cultivated for more than 300 years, how can you not like the profound mystery of space? The demigods set a direction. It was not randomly chosen, but what the transcendents excelled in. For example, Dongbo Shuang excelled in the profound mystery of water and fire, which was why the demigods chose this direction. It was impossible to randomly choose a direction. If he really walked on the path of the true meaning of water and fire, he would gradually immerse himself in it after 1 to 200 years. This was actually a form of self-hypnosis. Even if it was not something that he truly liked, after persevering for a long time, he would still be immersed in it. Situ Hong shook his head. I only felt that the true meaning of space was very tyrannical, and even had hopes of advancing to the true meaning of great destruction. Thus, I continued to comprehend it. You felt that it was powerful enough, so you comprehended it? Chiu Chi-bai did not know whether to laugh or cry. Then what do I do? Situ Hong was anxious. What do I do now? Chiu Chi-bai, Gong Yu, Si Kongyang and the Infernal Palace head glanced at each other. This kind of situation was rare. Yu Feng, Zhang Peng, Pu Yangbo, and the others did not experience such a situation. It was very rare for such a situation to occur among transcendents. For example, Dongbo Shuang was even harsher. He only pursued the spear art that he was most passionate about, and no one could persuade or reprimand him. His heart was incomparably firm. Right now, there are two ways, Chi Chiu Bai said. Situ Hong's eyes lit up. 1. Start all over again, Chiu Chi Bai said. Change to a cultivation direction that you can persevere in and that you prefer. No, I've cultivated for more than 300 years. How can I start all over again? Situ Hong shook his head. What's the other way? The other is to sharpen your heart. Chiu Chi Bai said, for example, becoming an ascetic, traveling the world to temper one's heart, making one's heart wider. Your temperament has changed. If you continue to comprehend the profound mysteries of spatial rifts, your efficiency will greatly increase. Ascetic? Situ Hong's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He looked down on ascetics. Transcendents had always been high up above, looking down on countless mortals like ants. Why did they have to become ascetics, walking amongst mortals like beggars? Alright, my guidance will end for now. Chiu Chi Bai said. What I said is only a suggestion. You guys can decide what to do. Senior Eternal Wind, we have yet to receive guidance. Wen Yong'an could not help but say. That's right, Senior Eternal Wind. Zhua Yi smiled charmingly as she looked at Chiu Chi Bai. Wu Zong, Yuan Qin, and the others all looked at Chiu Chi Bai. I don't understand your cultivation direction, so I can't randomly guide you. Chiu Chi Bai laughed. But during this half a year, I'll be in this Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. You guys can come and spar with me anytime. During the battle, you guys can discover each other's weaknesses. This should be of some help to you guys. That's all I can do. Dongbo Shuang sighed. In terms of qualifications, Chiu Chi Bai was the only human world's demigod with a grade 3 true meaning. He was definitely the most qualified. But he had only guided Yu Feng and the other three in the profound mysteries of space, and nothing else. Cultivation was indeed a very private matter. Very soon, the four demigods left. Dongbo Shuang and the others were discussing amongst themselves halfway up the mountain. Situ Hong's expression was the ugliest. I'm not convinced. I don't believe it. Situ Hong growled, what Tao and heart union? That's something needed to become a deity. I just want to grasp the true meaning. My Tao and heart are incompatible, but aren't I still the one with the highest comprehension amongst the 11 of us? You guys can barely even grasp the second level of myriad existences. What's the use of Tao and heart union? How can this Situ Hong say that? Jing Qiu was slightly shocked. All these years, Situ Hong had been pretending to be elegant. But who would have thought that under his madness, he would actually say such words? This had offended everyone here. Senior brother Situ, your heart is in a mess. Wen Yong and frowned. Am I wrong? Your comprehension is not as high as mine. Situ Hong's eyes were filled with madness. Just wait and see. I will definitely grasp the true meaning of space. I definitely will. South Situ Hong immediately broke through the sky. Time passed day by day. In private, Dongbo Shuaing and the rest went to find Qiu Qi-bai to spar with him. Snow Eagle, you really didn't disappoint me. After a spar, Qiu Qi-bai looked at Dongbo Shuaing with a joyful expression. Just now, I was forced to use my transcendent qi to directly suppress your illusion. In this Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, your combat power is without a doubt number one. I don't know what the faction head is thinking, to actually rank you as the last. If it were me, I would definitely place you first. Big Brother Eternal Wind, you're overpraising me. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. My illusion technique is still very weak. It was easily shattered by Big Brother Eternal Wind suppression. How long have I been cultivating? And how long have you been cultivating? Qiu Qi-bai shook his head. You haven't even grasped the true meaning. Once you grasp the true meaning, it won't be so easy for me to break through your illusion technique. I estimate that, with your current combat power, defeating a middle stage saint is not a problem. You can even threaten a peak stage saint transcendent. How amazing! I estimate that your true meaning is most likely a grade 2 true meaning. Grade 2 true meaning. It was even stronger than his true meaning of void cleavage. One must know that most profound mysteries would only appear when one grasped the true meaning. However, Dongbo Shuang had yet to grasp the true meaning, yet he had already manifested 6 arms and could even create illusions. Furthermore, his close combat abilities were extremely strong. Currently, his attacks were already showing signs of tearing through space. Once he grasped the true meaning, he would undergo an earth-shattering transformation. How frightening would he become then? A grade 2 true meaning was known as a legendary true meaning, for a reason. Faction had even said that my path of cultivation might be a dead end. Dongbo Shuang laughed. That's true. You don't have the experience of a senior to refer to. Qiu Qi-bai laughed. Grasping the true meaning is a very difficult path. Speaking of which, I don't have the experience of a senior to refer to, but I still succeeded. I believe that you will succeed. Chapter 150. Xia History Pavilion. In the silent pavilion, the night had already darkened. Dongbo Shuang, dressed in black, was still flipping through the thick gold leaf book on his lap. As a transcendent, he was still able to see in the dark. Hua hua hua, the pitter-patter of rain could be heard from outside the pavilion, and the air was chilly. Dongbo Shuang closed the gold leaf book in his hands, and solemnly placed it at the bottom of the bookshelf. Only then did he slowly stand up. After 15 years of reading, the Xia people have finished reading all the records of the demigods, from the primordial era to the present day. Dongbo Shuang walked to the railing of the pavilion and held on to it. He looked at the sky full of rain, and his chest was filled with excitement. He closed his eyes. It was as though many heroes of the Xia people had appeared. They had different personalities, and lived proudly in different eras. However, time is merciless. These ancestors of the Xia people have all turned to dust. Dongbo Shuang grinned. But so what? As long as I can live a happy and exciting life when I'm alive, that's enough. Finally, I will organize them all. Dongbo Shuang casually sat down, and leaned against the railing, allowing the occasional raindrops to fall on his body. He picked up a bottle of spiritual liquid from the stone of oceanic world, and took a sip. His mind was clear, and a large number of stories began to appear in his mind, and he began to organize them. When reading the records, one must know how to organize them. Shuang would often sort out and organize the vast amount of scrolls. From those records, he would refer to each other and extract some secrets. And tonight would be the first time Shuang would be combing through all the scrolls on a large scale. The brain of a transcendent had an extremely frightening processing speed. Otherwise, transcendent mages would not be able to directly analyze the profound mysteries of the world. No matter how fast his thinking speed was, there were too many records of the demigods of the Xia people. While he was thinking, it was already late at night. The rain gradually stopped, and the sky began to brighten. Dongbo Shuang, who had been looking into the distance, suddenly had his eyes lit up. All the dossiers and countless corroborations had formed a complete network in his mind. I, Dongbo Shuang, have come to the Xia capital, and my greatest gain is this vast amount of scrolls. Dongbo Shuang murmured softly, these 15 years of reading and organizing have been a cleansing of my soul. It was a complete transformation. On the surface, there was no change in his cultivation realm. But the change of thought was the most essential change of an extraordinary being. The power of the spirit is an extremely powerful force. Wherever my heart is, I will be invincible. No matter what kind of setbacks or difficulties we encounter, even if it's the judgment of the so-called seniors, or even the mistakes we make in cultivation, or the path of cultivation that we've fallen into a fork in the road of cultivation, etc. As long as your heart is burning with passion and perseverance, you will be able to walk a different path even if it seems to be a wrong one. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes were burning with passion. There was a saying among the transcendent sorcerers, all profound mysteries belonged to the world. Thus, from this point of view, any profound mysteries that seemed completely different, contradictory or strange could be fused together. Be it water, fire, wind, lightning, light, life, or life, death, gravity, everything that seemed completely unrelated could be fused together. Because they were all a part of the world. Transcendents, and even deities, were all advancing on this path of comprehending the laws of nature. The level of a true meaning represents the depth of one's insight into the world. Dongbo Shuang thought. For example, the grade 3 true meanings, the true meaning of gravity, the true meaning of death, the true meaning of extreme yin, the true meaning of extreme yang, the true meaning of destruction, and the true meaning of ripple, were considered to be at a very high level of insight into the world. As for the legends among the legends, in the countless mortal worlds, even in the deity world and the dark abyss, they were all legendary grade 1 true meanings. The true meaning of extremity, the true meaning of black hole, and the true meaning of time were all derived from the core of the world. What they used were the most terrifying laws of nature. There was no such thing as a dead end in cultivation. But if it was too difficult to fuse them together, such as gravity, ripple, and destruction, this was not something that transcendents could accomplish with their limited lifespan. Thus, it was considered a dead end. Even though it is difficult for me to fuse water, fire, and wind. I have already reached the third level in realms of myriad existences. Even though I have met with some small setbacks and am unable to fuse them together perfectly. But none of these can stop me. Dongbo Shuang thought. He had seen too many of the ancestors of the Xia people through countless scrolls. They had all walked out of seemingly dead ends. The more he saw, the more confidence he had. He would definitely be able to overcome all obstacles and break through all obstacles. Only when I am strong enough can I deal with all sorts of dangers in the future. Dongbo Shuang frowned. That's right. Danger was looming over the Xia people. Reading through the scrolls of countless ancestors was tantamount to reading the hidden history of the Xia people from the moment they were born. From these scrolls, Dongbo Shuang knew that the great demon god of the dark abyss had been spying on the world of the Xia people for a very long time. That great demon god had never stopped his ambition. The temple of the earth god also had the support of the deity world. They had always been resisting with all their might. This was a clash between two superpowers. Other than the terrifying great demon god, several other demonic gods were also spying on the world of the Xia people. These demonic gods could project themselves into the world of the Xia people and were extremely powerful. Sometimes, they would even use the legendary temporal temple to send some experts from other races to control the war in the world of the Xia people. The Xia people have been peaceful for too long. And the demonic faction has been keeping a low profile for the past 1,000 years. This is not normal. Dongbui Shuang thought to himself, looking at history, the longer the demonic faction hibernates, the greater the threat they pose when they rise up. Furthermore, the demonic beast clan has been keeping a low profile for the past 1,000 years. At most, the great elder Ao Lan has been stirring up trouble, but there have been no true large-scale wars. The demonic faction had long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the Xia people. From the mortals to the demigods, the shadows of the demonic faction could be seen. A single demonic faction had fought with the 6 great transcendent organizations for so many years. The demonic beast clan and the humans were even more hostile. According to the situation of the Xia people since ancient times, there is a 70% chance that the Xia people will start a large-scale war within 500 years. There is a 90% chance that it will happen within 1,000 years. This was because the lifespan of a demigod was only 3,000 years. Thus, the demonic faction and the demonic beast clan could only stay dormant for 3,000 years. Any longer than that would be meaningless. It was rare for them to stay dormant for more than 1,000 years. This time, the demonic faction and the demonic beast clan had been dormant for too long. If I can deduce this, then the demonic elders of my Xia people should also know this. Dongbui Shuang thought to himself. Because he understood the threat looming over him, Dongbui Shuang did not dare to slack off. My spear arts have yet to be perfected. And, looks like I'll have to use life and death to test my spear arts. In the face of death, one would usually be able to perform exceptionally well. However, this sort of thing could not be done too often, because one would be dancing on the edge of death. If it was done too often, one might really die. After all, this sort of tempering required the threat of death. Without the threat, there would be no effect. Early morning. Walking out of the summer pavilion, Dongbui Shuang quickly entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world as he walked through the infernal palace after the rain. Streaking across the sky, he soon arrived at the foot of a towering mountain. I've arrived. After landing, Dongbui Shuang raised his head and looked in front of him. At the foot of the mountain, there was a path paved with stone slabs, winding all the way up to the peak of the towering mountain. Chapter 151. This stone path was also known as the Mountain Road. These substitute elders who were being groomed in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world had the opportunity to challenge special life and death missions. The simplest special life and death mission was the Underground Magma River mission. Usually, these genius transcendents would be able to complete it after being groomed and rewarded with 500 contribution points. A higher level would be the Mountain Road Special Life and Death mission. This was extremely difficult. Until now, none of the young transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world had completed it. According to history, those who had grasped the embryonic form of a Grade 3 true meaning, along with rich combat experience, powerful secret techniques, weapons, etc., had a chance of completing it. The moment they completed it, they would be rewarded with 10,000 contribution points. This was an extremely high reward. After completing this mission, they would be close to grasping their true meaning. Those who did not have enough strength would not dare to attempt it. After all, if they were not careful, they might lose their lives. Currently, only Situ Hong had attempted it, but he failed miserably and almost lost his life. The highest level was the Sky Prison. This was a truly frightening mission. The Sky Prison imprisoned the most savage and powerful foreign races of the Xia people. Those who had grasped a Grade 3 true meaning could attempt it. Usually, they would have a chance of completing it. This was considered a reward for those who had grasped a Grade 3 true meaning. The reward was as high as 100,000 contribution points. Without grasping a true meaning, they must not attempt it. Those who entered would be instantly killed. Mountain Road. Dongbui Shuang looked at the stone path. He wanted to attempt this life and death mission. Usually, it was not easy to find a mission where he could feel the threat of death. Clearly, this Mountain Road mission was very suitable. Stepping on the first stone slab, Dongbui Shuang felt an unseen force enveloping his surroundings. Let me see how difficult this mountain road is. Dongbui Shuang extended his right hand. A black spear appeared in his hand. The spear's body was thick, and the spearhead was sharp and reflected a cold light. He walked step by step. Gradually, he climbed upwards. Long in front of him, there was a huge waterfall pouring down. The water was like a huge curtain, smashing into the stone pool below, causing countless splashes. The splashes formed a thick fog. The white fog enveloped an area of several hundred meters around the stone pool, as well as the stone path. The mountain road, starting from the foot of the mountain, was divided into 3 sections. The higher one went, the more dangerous it would be. Usually, those who felt that they were not strong enough would admit defeat early on. Because in a life-and-death battle, there was no time to admit defeat. If one admitted defeat too late, they would die. Once he took the initiative to admit defeat. The artifact spirit of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain World Spatial Deity artifact would teleport people out of the range of the stone pavement. If he did not admit defeat, Dongbui Shuang would be restricted by the array on the stone path, and he would not be able to escape from the stone path. Phew, white mist pervaded the air. Dongbui Shuang walked even more cautiously. This was because the white fog meant that they had entered the first section of the mountain road and were about to face the threat of death. Damned humans. A skinny humanoid creature with dark red skin and a huge scimitar on his back stared coldly at Dongbui Shuang, who was shrouded in white mist. Because of the formation. The transcendent native was able to see humans, but the humans were affected by the formation and were unable to see their surroundings clearly. They could only use the power of heaven and earth to scan their surroundings. Although the environment was favorable to the transcendent native, it was not happy at all. Because once the special mission begins, it would be the moment of its life and death. As long as it was killed, the human transcendent would be considered to have passed the first section. Why must I die? Damned humans, they stole the treasures of my territory and forced me to do hard labor. Now they want me to fight to the death. The skinny transcendent native gritted its teeth. Regardless of whether it was because of the hatred it had towards humans or the huge benefits it would obtain after winning, it was willing to go all out to kill this black-robed human youth. One blade. He must die. The skinny transcendent native observed silently, looking for the best opportunity to strike. The reason why it was chosen by the Xia people to be in charge of the first section of the mountain road was because it specialized in assassination. Stepping on the stone pavement, he advanced step by step. Thick white mist pervaded the air, making it impossible for the naked eye to see through. Dongbui Shuang carefully scanned his surroundings. Any further, the power of heaven and earth was obstructed by the array and was unable to penetrate. Hua! Under the detection of the power of heaven and earth, a thin and blurry figure suddenly appeared. Too fast. The speed of a transcendent was fast to begin with. A distance of tens of meters was too short. Dongbui Shuang only felt a blurry figure appearing in front of him in an instant. Following that, a blood-red curved blade slashed through the air. It was too fast and too sudden. Furthermore, the attack of the curved blade was extremely unpredictable, making it hard to predict its trajectory. Hong! Dongbui Shuang twisted the spear in his hand. The black spear was like a flood dragon as it shot out. Dang! The tip of the spear had already collided with the curved blade. What? The skinny transcendent native was shocked. His curved blade was known for its unpredictability. How did the blade collide with the true body of the blade so easily? What he didn't know was that Dongbui Shuang's spear arts had always been unpredictable. Furthermore, after fusing the profound mysteries of wind into it, it became even more unpredictable. In terms of unpredictability, it was even above the curved blade. The spear easily stuck onto the curved blade. The spear itself contained an astonishing rotational force, causing the curved blade to deviate to the side. The tip of the spear was like a venomous snake. The 3 energies of wind, water and fire interweaved together and burst forth at the same time. Although it seemed like an easy stab, it actually tore apart the space. Wherever the spear passed by, a faint black crack would appear. This black crack seemed to lead to the unknown. It was a spatial crack. The tip of the spear retracted right in between the brows of the skinny transcendent native. There was already a small hole in between the brows of the skinny transcendent native. His brain had already turned into mush, and he could not be any more dead. Dong! The skinny transcendent native's corpse turned soft and fell onto the stone pavement. Looking at the corpse, Dongbui Shuang was extremely calm. Humans, demonic beasts and transcendent natives were all competing for survival space. There was no room for pity. The moment they were given the chance, they would swiftly retaliate and massacre the humans. In the history of the Xia people, there was a very pitiful and tragic period. Its curved blade is extremely strange, but in this aspect, it is still inferior to my spear arts. Dongbui Shuang thought. Seems like the first section of the mountain road poses too little of a threat to me. However, the higher I go, the more dangerous it becomes. I hope that I can truly sharpen my spear arts, and perfect them. That stab seemed to be extremely powerful, to the point that it could even tear apart the space. However, this was still not enough to satisfy Dongbui Shuang. He could feel that his stab was obviously not perfect. Dongbui Shuang continued walking forward, step by step, towards the depths of the stone pavement. Chapter 152. The second section of the mountain road. After walking out of the white fog, Dongbui Shuang walked on the stone path. Suddenly, he felt a formless pressure on his soul. Everything was within his expectations. The special characteristic of the second section of the mountain road was that the pressure on one's soul would get stronger and stronger. This was a test of one's soul and heart. Even if one's realm was high enough, if one's soul was not tempered enough, one would not be able to pass this section safely. And the effect of reading on a person's soul was very obvious. Life experiences, reading books, comprehending the nature of heaven and earth could all affect one's soul. Dongbui Shuang had gone through close to 15 years. After reading countless demigod scrolls, he could feel the transformation of his soul. As the saying goes, without doubt, without fear. After reading enough scrolls and seeing the experiences of countless demigods, Dongbui Shuang had a very clear understanding of his future. He also had a fundamental understanding of the truth of this world. These understandings made him without doubt or fear. The pressure is quite strong. I heard that Situ Hong gave up halfway through. After walking for a few miles, he was already halfway up the towering mountain. At this moment, the pressure on his soul had caused Dongbui Shuaying's forehead to be covered in sweat. However, his heart was filled with excitement. Very good. The greater the pressure, the better. The reason why he chose to walk the mountain road was to perfect his spear arts. In front of Shuang, in an empty space around a bend, there were currently two ugly native transcendents casually sitting there. Their height was about 2.5 meters, and their waists were wrapped with beast skins. They were barefooted and had an axe hanging from their waists. By their side, there was also a single-handed shield. The two of them were casually drinking wine together. How long has it been? How long has it been since us brothers drank wine? Who would have thought that we would be able to enjoy wine before the war? It is not bad to die in battle while drinking wine. A green-skinned transcendent native sighed. Wu Chen. Who would have thought that you would be tortured by the Xia people to the point that you no longer have any will to fight? I am not willing to die like this. Have you forgotten about the torture that the Xia people subjected us transcendent natives to? The red-skinned transcendent native by the side roared. Of course I haven't forgotten. Of course I hate him. We were born from the heavens and earth. We were born to be the rulers of the heavens and earth. Even in death, we won't lower our heads and submit. The green-skinned transcendent native gritted his teeth. But so what? After all, the Xia people are too strong. Whether they want to kill or enslave, it all depends on the Xia people's whims. Then let's kill them. Killing one is enough. This time, as long as we kill the human transcendent who is trying to break through this stone path, We will gain 1,000 years of freedom. I don't need to be enslaved anymore. The red-skinned transcendent native's eyes were filled with hatred. Killing one can be considered as relieving the suffocation in my chest. In the eyes of the Xia people, these transcendent natives born from the heavens and earth were too stubborn. It would be fine if they were strong, but it would be very difficult to attack them. Some of the weaker transcendent worlds were completely swept away. If the Xia people really wanted to kill them, they could easily slaughter them. The Xia people did not do that. They were even willing to accept them as long as they became the vassals of the Xia people. They could live and cultivate freely. They were merely vassals. Most of the transcendent natives would rather die than lower their heads. Only a few were willing to follow them. They're here. The two ugly natives stared at a corner in the distance. A black-robed young man wielding a long spear walked over from the corner. Suddenly, he stopped and his gaze landed on the two transcendent natives. Just the two of you? Dongbui Shuang wielded his long spear as he asked. Human, prepare to die. Kill. The two ugly natives roared at the same time. In an instant, they transformed into two shadows and appeared in front of Dongbui Shuang in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the energy of nature started to form around them. The red-skinned transcendent native was surrounded by blazing flames. The temperature of the flames was so high that even rocks would be turned into dust in an instant. That green-skinned native transcendent was surrounded by a bone-chilling cold. As the cold spread out, it froze everything in its path. Shui Ying's body was protected by his transcendent qi, but the moment that bone-chilling cold invaded his body, he felt his entire body quivering. Even his transcendent qi was being consumed rapidly. One was blazing flames, the other was bone-chilling cold. The two collided. Ice and fire were polar opposites, causing Dongbui Shuang to feel extremely uncomfortable. He tried to control the energy of the world to suppress them. However, these two transcendent natives were obviously born with the ability to control. In addition, they had already reached the third level of the realm of myriad existences. Their control was not something that Dongbui Shuang could suppress. Being enveloped by ice and fire, coupled with the pressure of the soul on the stone road, the feeling was terrible. But at this moment, he was facing the threat of death. It was too fast. The two of them brandished their axes. One of the axes brought with it a fiery red light, causing the void to tremble and distort. The other axes brought with it an icy cold light. Everywhere it passed, everything seemed to be frozen. Dang! Shuang rapidly retreated. At the same time, his spear shot out like a huge serpent, blocking the nearest fiery red axe that was coming at him. A powerful force came crashing through the axes, causing Dongbui Shuang to fly backwards uncontrollably, crashing into the array membrane wall beside the stone road. With a "pu" sound, his back was completely stuck onto the void membrane wall. Many array runes also appeared on the void membrane wall. Such powerful strength. These two transcendent natives have probably reached the peak of the Saint Realm. Dongbui Shuang immediately understood the strength of the two. Peak of the Saint Realm, transcendent natives were both at the third level of the realm of myriad existences. One specialized in fire, the other in ice. They were both extremely ordinary profound mysteries. In terms of body, the two transcendent natives completely suppressed Dongbui Shuang. Dongbui Shuang was after all only at the peak of the sky realm. The difference between them was too great. But in terms of cultivation, it was the opposite. Dongbui Shuang was far above them. This kind of low-grade ice and fiery type profound mysteries, even if they formed a true meaning, they would still be weaker than Dongbui Shuang. Dongbui Shuang's water, fire and wind profound mysteries combined was indeed incomparably profound. I can't defend against it. I have to rely on my cultivation to win. Dongbui Shuang immediately understood this point. Currently, he could only fight head-on against a saint middle stage transcendent. Kill. Kill him. The two ugly natives took the opportunity to chase after him, wanting to kill him in one fell swoop. Suddenly, Dongbui Shuang's figure blurred, and a total of 6 arms appeared, each holding onto a black spear. This caused the 2 ugly natives to be startled. Why did he turn into 6 arms and 3 spears? Which one was the real one? Who? Dongbo Shuiying's figure blurred again, and suddenly split into 3 figures. 3 black-robed young men stood in front of him, each of them holding onto a spear with 6 arms. This. The 2 ugly transcendent natives were even more confused. Burn him to death. Freeze him to death. The 2 ugly transcendent natives hurriedly controlled the flames and the bone-chilling cold chi. The 2 forces pressed forward, but under the scorching heat, the 3 black-robed young men remained standing there without suffering any damage. These illusory figures were formed from the laws of profound mysteries. It was extremely difficult to destroy them. Receive my attack. The 3 Dongbo Shuiyings simultaneously charged forward. 2 of them surrounded him from the sides, while the last one attacked from above. Chapter 153. The 2 transcendent natives panicked because they couldn't tell which one was the real one. Furthermore, each of the Dongbo Shuiying had 6 arms and 3 spears. It would be very difficult for them to block all of them. Let's try and see which one is the real one. The 2 transcendent natives each held a shield as they fought side by side. Using shields? It's useless. My phantoms aren't that easy to break. The 3 Dongbo Shuiyings that flew over stabbed out with the spears in their hands at the same time. 9 spears pierced towards the heads, throats, and other vital parts of the 2 transcendent natives from different directions like 9 flood dragons. Block them quickly. Dongbo Shuiying's spear technique was unpredictable to begin with. Furthermore, there were 9 spear phantoms attacking at the same time. The 2 transcendent natives were weak in terms of cultivation. How could they block 9 spear phantoms with just 2 shields? This was undoubtedly a dream. For a moment, they were at a loss of what to do. Who? 3 spears pierced through the shields like flood dragons. Pooh! One of the transcendent natives held onto his throat, but blood spurted out from the huge hole in his throat. He immediately fell to the ground. If it was a demon, his vitality might be able to withstand it. But for the transcendent natives, other than a few, most of them wouldn't be able to withstand such fatal injuries. No, the remaining transcendent natives naturally fell to the ground as well. Looking at the corpses of the 2 transcendent natives, Dongbo Shuiying shook his head slightly. Their cultivation was too low. Just their strength and speed alone made them look like stupid beasts. If they couldn't break through Dongbo Shuiying's phantoms, they could only be easily trampled to death. As he continued to walk up the stone path, the oppressive feeling in his soul disappeared, and he felt relaxed. The 3rd segment is also the last segment. The first 2 segments weren't able to threaten me. Hopefully, the 3rd segment will give me some pressure. Dongbo Shuiying was still filled with expectations. Because, according to the records, the mountain path mission was extremely difficult. Let's calculate carefully. In the first segment, it was just an assassin who launched a sneak attack and was easily dealt with. The second stage was obviously much more difficult. The 2 transcendent natives were able to control cold air and flames, and he was also suffering from soul pressure. Both of them were peak martial saints. Fortunately, he had the phantom technique. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for him to win. The 3rd stage would be even harder. Step by step, he walked up the mountain path. After walking for the time it took to brew a pot of tea, Dongbo Shuiying arrived at the end of the mountain path, which was also the peak of the towering mountain. Standing at the top of the mountain and looking up at the sky, one could already see a building in the clouds in the distance. That was the so-called sky prison. It was used by the Xia people to imprison large numbers of fierce and powerful foreign races. This is my opponent. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the skinny old man who was sitting cross-legged on the peak of the mountain. The skinny old man was only wearing a beast skin, and his entire body was covered in hair. His eyes were turbid as he sat there with his legs crossed, staring blankly at the sky and the sky prison. Suddenly, the skinny old man turned towards Dongbu Shuang, as though he had sensed something. One day. The old man's turbid eyes suddenly turned vicious as he spoke in a low voice, the sky prison will be breached, and the Xia people will perish. Perish? With just you transcendent natives? Dongbu Shuang laughed coldly. Stop dreaming. The Xia people are still as confident as ever. The skinny old man chuckled as his chest heaved up and down. His entire body was trembling as he laughed. I really hate the faces of you Xia people. If I really want to slaughter all of you Xia people, I can't do it. But today, you Xia people actually asked me to guard the last segment. You even asked me to go all out against you. If I kill you, I will be rewarded handsomely. Such a good request, how can I not satisfy you? Cut the crap. Die. Facing this crazy old man, Dongbu Shuaying's figure turned blurry. Hua. Immediately, 3 Dongbu Shuayings appeared. Each of them had 6 arms, and a total of 9 spears. You haven't even grasped your true meaning, yet you are able to conjure such realistic illusions. Among the Xia people, you should be considered an elite. The skinny old man raised his head slowly. Killing an elite among transcendents is too interesting. Wang, a strange ripple appeared on the skinny old man's body. Following which, with him as the center, the ripple spread out in a fan shape. Everywhere it passed, the space around it rippled. Pang! Pang! Under the impact of this ripple, the 2 illusions Dongbu Shuang created began to shatter. Dongbu Shuaying's illusory arms and spears also began to shatter. What? Dongbu Shuang was startled. It's been broken. His own illusions were the condensation of the laws of profound mysteries. This was a power that transcended material. It was extremely difficult to destroy an illusion. Usually, there were 2 ways to do so. One was to use an extremely powerful transcendent force to directly destroy it. The other was to similarly rely on the laws of profound mysteries to break it. The ripple emitted by this skinny old man was none other than true meanings. What was true meaning? True meaning meant that one's comprehension of the profound mysteries of the world had reached a sufficiently profound level. When these laws of profound mysteries were condensed together, they would materialize. This was true meaning. True meanings by themselves possessed immense power. Ordinary true meanings would find it hard to break his own illusions. His own illusions could already be considered the embryonic form of the grade 3 true meaning, the true meaning of illusions. Dongbu Shuang could feel that as long as he followed down this path, he would be able to grasp the true meaning of illusions. And if the true meaning of illusions was a grade higher, it would be able to reach the legendary grade 2 true meaning, the true meaning of mirage. But these were all just playing around with illusions and mirages. To him, it could only be considered a form of support. It was an unorthodox path. When he battled, he still relied on his true offensive strength. Thus, he had never thought of following down the path of the true meaning of illusions. Even so, this was still the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning. It was not that easy to break. This is my true meaning, the true meaning of water waves. The skinny old man laughed. I really don't know what you Xia people are thinking. You're just a brat who has yet to grasp a true meaning, yet you dare to fight against me. The moment he finished speaking. Hong! The skinny old man leapt up from the ground, turning into a stream of light as he charged towards Dongbu Shuang. His aura was like that of a dragon. Die for me. The skinny old man's palms slapped towards Dongbu Shuang. Clang! His opponent was too fast. Dongbu Shuang hurriedly used the spear in his hand to block the attack. The tip of the spear pierced towards his opponent's palms. However, his opponent's palms were protected by a layer of true meaning. This layer of true meaning was condensed from the laws of profound mysteries. Dongbu Shuaying's spear, which was formed from the condensation of wind, water, and fire, could only pierce through the layer of true meaning with great difficulty. The remnant force of the spear could no longer pierce through the layer of true meaning. Pang! The moment both sides clashed, they separated. Under the impact of both palms, the shaft of the spear was bent, causing Dongbui Shuiying's entire body to fly backwards. Although the shaft of the spear tried its best to dissipate the force, some of the hidden force was still transmitted through the spear and into Dongbui Shuiying's body. It was as though he had fallen into a surging wave. Hong hong hong, an endless stream of hidden energy surged through his body. Pooh, fresh blood spurted out from his mouth as Dongbui Shuiying fell to the ground. He immediately used his hands to support himself. Damn it! Dongbui Shuiying could feel his internal organs being lacerated. Propping himself against the ground, fresh blood spurted out from his mouth. Fortunately, he had awakened his primordial bloodline, which granted him a powerful recovery ability. Otherwise, this hidden energy alone would have killed him. Chapter 154. He actually didn't die. After the skinny old man landed on the ground, he laughed savagely. Very good, then you shall experience my strongest strength. As he spoke, his originally thin and small body rapidly became tall and sturdy as if he was being inflated. The muscles on his back bulged up, and under his bulging shoulder blades, 2 white palms stretched out, carrying traces of blood, just like that. In the blink of an eye, the skinny old man had transformed into a sturdy 4-armed old man. Dongbui Shuiying's expression changed slightly, but he wasn't surprised. After all, his opponent was a transcendent native, and he naturally had some innate techniques. Now that his aura had become stronger and he had 4 arms, it should be his innate techniques. Previously, he had severely injured me. Now that his strength has increased and he has 4 arms, it will be too difficult to block him. Dongbui Shuiying's internal organs were recovering rapidly. He swallowed the blood that had reached his throat and stood up. However, I still have to try. This kind of battle will be more interesting. Receive my move. Dongbui Shuiying roared out, and he actually took the initiative to charge out. His figure arced through the air, charging towards the 4-armed old man from the side. Eh? You actually dare to take the initiative to attack me? The 4-armed old man laughed coldly as he sent out a palm strike. Hula! The spear was like a huge python, drifting strangely as it lashed out. When it neared the palm, it was actually extremely slippery, slipping past the palm. It was either a whip, a thrust, or a collapse. After suffering a setback previously, Dongbui Shuiying knew that his opponent's palm strike contained a hidden impact force. Thus, his battle style changed accordingly. Every single move he made would be retracted as soon as they collided. He was unpredictable and didn't give his opponent any chance to unleash his true strength. He was like a venomous snake that was constantly searching for an opportunity. Once he found one, he would kill with a single strike. He actually couldn't unleash his true strength even once. The 4-armed old man was astonished. He had plenty of battle experience, and his true intent of water wasn't the kind of true intent that allowed one to clash head-on. Yet, he couldn't find an opportunity. As long as he made a mistake, he would be severely injured or even defeated. Under such pressure, Dongbui Shuiying went all out, pushing himself to his limits as he executed his spear arts to the maximum. This sort of pressure was extremely satisfying. To his heart's content. He had cultivated in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for more than 20 years, and under this kind of threat, almost every move he made was displayed to its most perfect state. Every move was continuous, and the fusion of the 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind became more and more perfect. Kid, you're really slippery, but it's useless. With the gap in strength, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. I won't waste any more time with you. Die! The 4-armed old man's expression was ferocious. He couldn't be bothered to waste any more time and directly used the most barbaric method of battle. His 4 arms started to attack Dongbui Shuiying crazily. At the same time, he was approaching Dongbui Shuiying as fast as he could. Clap! 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 His speed was much faster than Dongbui Shuiying. If he were to get close to Dongbui Shuiying, it would be impossible for him to shake him off. His 4 arms slapped furiously, and every single slap was extremely powerful. Dongbui Shuang could only defend against it. Because if he didn't defend, the palm would land on his body, and through the spear, he would be heavily injured. If the palm landed on his body, he would probably die instantly. This was an extremely barbaric method of battle. Previously, both parties were still comparing their battle techniques. The four-armed old man thought that with his rich experience, he should be able to win. But after fighting for a while, he gave up. He chose to use the most barbaric method. An earth-shattering palm slapped towards him. It was fast and ferocious. With his speed, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. He could only defend against it. But the four arms were slashing furiously, and he only had a single spear. How could he defend against it? With the hidden force behind the palm, he definitely wouldn't be able to defend against it. I can only attack. Dongbui Ying's eyes were filled with resolution. Attacking was the best defense, and the best defense. Fight! Hua, the spear in his hand spun, and the spear shot out like a flood dragon. The tricolored energies of water, fire, and wind revolved around the spear, intertwining together at the tip of the spear. Break for me! Facing the incoming palms that were filled with the aura of death, Dongbui Shuang only had one thought in his mind: break it. Break that palm. The surroundings suddenly turned silent. The space seemed to have stopped, and the flow of time seemed to have slowed down. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind converged at the tip of the spear. It was as though the heavenly lightning had triggered the earthly fire, and the three profound mysteries seemed to have some sort of special reaction. At the moment when they converged, Dongbui Shuang could vaguely see a world of nothingness, and within that world of nothingness, there was a gigantic sphere that was slowly rotating, boundless void. Regardless of time or space. In this gigantic sphere, everything was converging, and everything was converging at a single point. This point was the beginning of everything, and it was also the end of everything. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind intertwined together, condensing into a blurry point that pierced through everything. The four-armed old man was still crazily waving his palms, covering the sky and covering the earth. Facing that crazily thrusting spear, he laughed sinisterly. He was incomparably confident that this human transcendent would definitely not be able to block it. He was afraid that a single palm strike would heavily injure him, and 3 or 4 palm strikes would definitely kill him. Suddenly, Dongbui Shuang, who had stabbed out with the spear, had actually disappeared along with the spear. He had disappeared without a trace. Then, he appeared right in front of the four-armed old man, only 2 to 3 meters away. The tip of the black spear was only 1 chi away from his eyes. How is this possible? The four-armed old man was shocked, and his entire body trembled. How did he suddenly disappear? Did he suddenly appear after passing through space? The tip of the spear was so close to him, and he couldn't even block it in time. Chi! It was too fast. The four-armed old man was merely shocked. Even though he was a transcendent, he couldn't react in time. The spear instantly drew a black arc through the air, piercing through the forehead of the four-armed old man. Although he was protected by a layer of true meaning and transcendent Do Chi. At this moment, the tip of the spear had a terrifying penetrative power. Not only did it pierce through space, it even affected time itself. Shwa! Everywhere the spear passed through, a black line was left behind as it pierced through the head of the four-armed old man. Both sides crossed each other. Dongbui Shuang stood behind the four-armed old man. The four-armed old man stood there in a daze. His head seemed to be uninjured, but in reality, it was only because the attack was too fast that it affected time and space. That was why no wound could be seen with the naked eye. Dying under such an embryonic form of a true meaning. I have nothing to say. The four-armed old man muttered, is this an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning or a grade 1 true meaning? It was too terrifying. That was definitely not a true meaning, because even the laws of profound mysteries had yet to materialize. It should just be an embryonic form of a true meaning. But just an embryonic form of a true meaning was already so frightening. It was much stronger than his complete grade 7 true meaning. It was definitely a legendary existence. At the very least, it should be an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, or perhaps an embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning that had never appeared in this world since ancient times. To die under such an embryonic form of a true meaning was indeed an honor. Pang! Following that, fresh blood slowly flowed out from his forehead. His body went limp, and he fell to the ground. In a remote courtyard of the infernal palace, within a study, Si Kong Yang's back was ramrod straight as he sat in front of a table. In front of him was a pile of scrolls. He was coldly reading the secret information recorded within. These were all information regarding the Beast Clan and the demonic faction that the 6 transcendent organizations of the Xia people, including the Bloodshed Tavern and the Temple of the Earth God, had investigated. The higher-ups and elders of the Xia people were always on guard against the Beast Clan and the demonic faction. Si Kong Yang frowned. His communication wristband suddenly received a message: Scarlet Cloud Mountain World Substitute Elder Dongboi Shuang has completed the special mission Mountain Road. Chapter 155. He actually didn't die. After the skinny old man landed on the ground, he laughed savagely. Very good, then you shall experience my strongest strength. As he spoke, his originally thin and small body rapidly became tall and sturdy as if he was being inflated. The muscles on his back bulged up, and under his bulging shoulder blades, 2 white palms stretched out, carrying traces of blood, just like that. In the blink of an eye, the skinny old man had transformed into a sturdy 4-armed old man. Dongboi Ying's expression changed slightly, but he wasn't surprised at all. After all, his opponent was a transcendent native, and he should have some innate techniques. Now that his aura had become stronger and he had 4 arms, it should be his innate techniques. Previously, he had severely injured me. Now that his strength has increased and he has 4 arms, it will be too difficult to block him. Dongboi Ying's internal organs were recovering rapidly. He swallowed the blood that had reached his throat and stood up. However, I still have to try. This kind of battle is more interesting. Receive my move. Dongboi Shuang roared out, and he actually took the initiative to charge out. His figure arced through the air, charging towards the 4-armed old man from the side. You actually dare to take the initiative to attack me? The 4-armed old man laughed coldly as he sent out a palm strike. Hula! The spear was like a huge python, drifting in a strange manner as it lashed out. When it got close to the palm, it was actually extremely slippery, sliding past the palm. It was either a whip, a thrust, or a collapse. After suffering a loss previously, Dongboi Shuang knew that his opponent's palm strike contained a hidden impact force. Thus, his battle style changed accordingly. Every single move he made would be retracted as soon as they collided. He was unpredictable and didn't give his opponent any chance to unleash his true strength. He was like a venomous snake that was constantly searching for an opportunity. Once he found one, he would kill with a single strike. He actually couldn't unleash his true strength even once. The 4-armed old man was astonished. He had plenty of battle experience, and his true intent of water wasn't the kind of true intent that would clash head-on. Yet, he still couldn't find an opportunity. As long as he made a single mistake, he would be severely injured or even defeated. Under such pressure, Dongboi Shuang went all out, squeezing out his limits and displaying his spear arts to the extreme. This sort of pressure was extremely satisfying. To his heart's content. He had cultivated in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for more than 20 years, and under this kind of threat, almost every move he made was displayed to its most perfect state. Every move was continuous, and the fusion of the 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind became more and more perfect. Kid, you're really slippery, but it's useless. With the gap in strength, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. I won't waste any more time with you. Die! The 4-armed old man's expression was ferocious. He couldn't be bothered to waste any more time and directly used the most barbaric method of battle. His 4 arms started to attack Dongboi Shuang crazily. At the same time, he was approaching Dongbui Shuang as fast as he could. Clap! 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 His speed was much faster than Dongbui Shuang. If he were to get close to Dongbui Shuang, it would be impossible for him to shake him off. His forearms slapped furiously, and every single slap was extremely powerful. Dongbui Shuang could only defend against it. Because if he didn't defend, the palm would land on his body, and through the spear, he would be heavily injured. If the palm landed on his body, he would probably die instantly. This was an extremely barbaric method of battle. Previously, both parties were still comparing their battle techniques. The four-armed old man thought that with his rich experience, he should be able to win. But after fighting for a while, he gave up. He chose to use the most barbaric method. An earth-shattering palm slapped towards him. It was fast and ferocious. With his speed, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. He could only defend against it. But the forearms were slashing furiously, and he only had a single spear. How could he defend against it? With the hidden force behind the palm, he definitely wouldn't be able to defend against it. I can only attack. Dongbui Ying's eyes were filled with resolution. Attacking was the best defense, and the best defense. Fight! Hua, the spear in his hand spun, and the spear shot out like a flood dragon. The tricolored energies of water, fire, and wind revolved around the spear, intertwining together at the tip of the spear. Break for me! Facing the incoming palms that were filled with the aura of death, Dongbui Shuang only had one thought in his mind: break it. Break that palm. The surroundings suddenly turned silent. The space seemed to have stopped, and the flow of time seemed to have slowed down. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind converged at the tip of the spear. It was as though the heavenly lightning had triggered the earthly fire, and the three profound mysteries seemed to have some sort of special reaction. At the moment when they converged, Dongbui Shuang could vaguely see a world of nothingness, and within that world of nothingness, there was a gigantic sphere that was slowly rotating, boundless void. Regardless of time or space. In this gigantic sphere, everything was converging, and everything was converging at a single point. This point was the beginning of everything, and it was also the end of everything. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind intertwined together, condensing into a blurry point that pierced through everything. The four-armed old man was still crazily waving his palms, covering the sky and covering the earth. Facing that crazily thrusting spear, he laughed sinisterly. He was incomparably confident that this human transcendent would definitely not be able to block it. He was afraid that a single palm strike would heavily injure him, and 3 or 4 palm strikes would definitely kill him. Suddenly, Dongbui Shuang, who had stabbed out with the spear, had actually disappeared along with the spear. He had disappeared without a trace. Then, he reappeared in front of the four-armed old man, only 2 to 3 meters away. The tip of the black spear was only 1 chi away from his eyes. How is this possible? The four-armed old man was shocked, and his entire body trembled. How did he suddenly disappear? Did he suddenly appear after passing through space? The tip of the spear was so close to him, and he couldn't even block it in time. Chi! It was too fast. The four-armed old man was only shocked. Even though he was a transcendent, he couldn't react in time. The spear instantly drew a black arc through the air, piercing through the forehead of the four-armed old man. Although he was protected by a layer of true meaning and transcendent Do Chi. At this moment, the tip of the spear had a terrifying penetrative power. Not only did it pierce through space, it even affected time itself. Shwa! Everywhere the spear passed through, a black line was left behind as it pierced through the head of the four-armed old man. Both sides crossed each other. Dongbui Shuang stood behind the four-armed old man. The four-armed old man stood there in a daze. His head seemed to be uninjured, but in reality, it was only because the attack was too fast that it affected time and space. That was why no wound could be seen with the naked eye. Dying under this embryonic form of true meaning. I have nothing to say. The four-armed old man muttered, is this the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, or the embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning. It was too terrifying. That was definitely not a true meaning, because even the laws of profound mysteries had yet to materialize. It should only be the embryonic form of a true meaning. But just the embryonic form of a true meaning was already so frightening. It was much stronger than his complete grade 7 true meaning. It was definitely a legendary existence. At the very least, it should be the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, or the embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning that had never appeared in this world since ancient times. To die under such an embryonic form of true meaning was indeed an honor. Pang! Following that, fresh blood flowed out from his forehead. His body went limp, and he fell to the ground. In a remote courtyard of the infernal palace, within a study room, Si Kong Yang's back was ramrod straight as he sat in front of a table. In front of him was a pile of scrolls. He was coldly looking at the secret information recorded within. These were all information regarding the Beast Clan and the demonic faction that the 6 transcendent organizations of the Xia people, including the Bloodshed Tavern and the Temple of the Earth God, had investigated. The higher-ups of the Xia people were always on guard against the Beast Clan and the demonic faction. Si Kong Yang frowned. His communication wristband suddenly received a message: Scarlet Cloud Mountain World Substitute Elder Dongbui Shuang has completed the special mission Mountain Road. Chapter 156. Dongbui Shuang. Mountain Road Mission. Si Kong Yang, the demigod overlord who stood at the peak of this world, was also stunned. His thoughts were in chaos, and it took him a full breath of time to calm down. One could not blame him for losing his composure. This news was simply too shocking. If it was an ordinary transcendent, they might not understand what the Mountain Road mission entailed. However, as the person in charge of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, he was very clear on what the Mountain Road mission entailed. The more he understood how inconceivable it was for Dongbui Shuang to be able to accomplish what he did. He completed the Mountain Road mission. How is this possible? Si Kong Yang could not help but ask. This news was transmitted by the artifact spirit of the Infernal Palace. Logically speaking, it should not be wrong. However, this news was too important, so he had to confirm it again. Faction head Si Kong Yang, the news is correct. Substitute Elder Dongbui Shuang stepped onto the Mountain Road mission alone today. Furthermore, he has already killed a native transcendent who grasped the grade 7 true meaning of water waves, the artifact spirit replied. Really? He really completed it? Si Kong Yang had a strange expression on his face. He was filled with disbelief, excitement, and complicated emotions. There was even a trace of a bitter smile. This Dongbui Shuang is really a ruthless slap to my face. Si Kong Yang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He actually played such a trick. However, he did a good job. No matter what, Dongbui Shuang was still a member of his Water Daoist faction. Although he was very disappointed before, since Dongbui Shuang had walked on a path that was better than what he had originally planned, it was naturally worthy of praise. The Mountain Road mission was extremely difficult. Under normal circumstances, one would need to grasp the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning, choose the best weapon, have plenty of battle experience, and have a strong secret technique. In short, one would need to be fully prepared in order to have a chance of succeeding. If one grasped the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, it would be much easier to win. What about Dongbui Shuang? One must know that Ying's weapons were quite ordinary. That spear of his was merely a low-grade saint-ranked weapon. The combat boots he was wearing were also quite ordinary. The only thing he had was a top-grade saint-ranked inner armor. Even so, it was still used to protect his life. Its help in attacking was negligible. In terms of battle experience, he could only be considered average. After all, he was too young and had too few life and death battles. Secret arts? It was ordinary. Like the Bloodshed Tavern and Temple of the Earth God, the Transcendents used deity-ranked secret techniques. Therefore, in terms of weapons, experience, and secret techniques, he could not be considered perfect. However, he still managed to complete the mountain path mission. This was too heaven-defying. Either that, or the embryonic form of the grade 3 true meaning that Dongbui Shuang had comprehended was very strange and could restrain that native transcendent. Either that, or Dongbui Shuang had comprehended the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. The embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. Si Kong Yang's heart trembled at the thought. Xia people had only comprehended a grade 2 true meaning since ancient times. In the records of the deity world, a grade 2 true meaning could be considered as a legendary true meaning. It was truly terrifying and powerful. The reason why he valued Du Ro Ro so much was because her profound mystery of time was a grade 2 true meaning. Currently, she was only at the second level of the myriad existences realm. In the future, her chances of comprehending a grade 2 true meaning was less than 10%. But the embryonic form of a true meaning was different. The moment one grasped the embryonic form of a true meaning, as long as one spent some time, it would be easy to perfect it. Dongbui Shuang was currently extremely young. According to his age, he would only need to spend a few more decades before he could complete the embryonic form of a true meaning. I hope it's an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. I really hope so. Si Kong Yang was looking forward to it. His eyes were filled with hope. I was so close. I was so close to destroying him. Si Kong Yang rejoiced. Fortunately, Dongbui Shuang was so insistent. Otherwise, even if Dongbui Shuang grasped the true meaning of water and fire and became a demigod, he would only be able to reach Si Kong Yang's level. To the entire Xia people, Dongbui Shuang was only the icing on the cake. After all, there were still quite a few people at the level of Xia people. But if a demigod with a grade 2 true meaning was born, that would be different. Qiu Qibai was already considered to be the #1 demigod in the world. And if Dongbui Shuang had a grade 2 true meaning, he would truly dominate an era. At his peak, the demonic beast clan, demonic faction, and native transcendents would all cower and not dare to make a sound. Who? Si Kong Yang stood up. With a step, he disappeared from the study. Not only Si Kong Yang, 3 other demigods also received the news. They were the teachers in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Qiu Qibai and Gong Yu. And the Infernal Palace's Palace Master. Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Who? 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 At the foot of the mountain path, the space distorted and 4 figures appeared one after another. Everyone is here. The black-haired old man revealed a smile. Palace head Chen, Qiu Qibai said, "Do you know what embryonic form of true meaning Brother Shuang has comprehended? Was it grade 3 or grade 2? That's right. Palace Lord, what is the true meaning's embryonic form?" Gong Yu was also excited. Even Si Kong Yang was looking at the black-haired old man. The black-haired old man was the only one in the entire Infernal Palace who knew about the battle. Don't be anxious. The black-haired old man chuckled. Those who could become the Infernal Palace's Palace Lord were absolutely loyal to the people of the Infernal Palace. They were willing to dedicate their lives to the people of the Xia people. When he heard the news, he was also filled with joy and happiness. Old man, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and tell us. Si Kong Yang couldn't help but say. Ha ha ha, Si Kong Yang, to think that you would have such a day. Previously, when you scolded Dongbui Shuang, weren't you the one who scolded him the most? The black-haired old man joked. You with the surname Chen, didn't you not object when I scolded you? Si Kong Yang glared at him. If you know, then say it. If you don't, then stop talking nonsense. The black-haired old man smiled helplessly. All right, I really don't know. Although the Infernal Palace's treasure spirit saw the battle, it couldn't recognize it. Furthermore, Dongbui Shuaying's move was too mysterious. It couldn't really understand it. Couldn't recognize it. Qiu Qibai, Si Kong Yang, and Gong Yu were all shocked. How long had the treasure spirit been alive? How could it not recognize it despite being so knowledgeable? That battle situation was roughly like this. As the black-haired old man spoke, he waved his hand and an illusion appeared in midair. A black-clothed Dongbu Shuang wielding a long spear could be seen. On the other side, the four-armed old man was directly suppressing Dongbu Shuang with his forearms. Who? The long spear pierced through space. Dongbu Shuang instantly disappeared and reappeared in front of the four-armed old man. The tip of the spear was only a foot away from the old man's eyes. Dongbu Shuang quickly pierced through the old man's eyes. Dongbu Shuang left behind a black trail. However, there were no visible wounds on the old man's body. Before he died, he said, dying under such an embryonic form of true meaning, I have nothing to say. Is this an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning or a grade 1? That's what happened, the black-haired old man said. The black-haired old man said, as for the details of the laws and profound mysteries caused by the battle, the artifact spirit is unable to display them. Just from the battle's surface, I couldn't tell what kind of embryonic form of true meaning it was. I couldn't tell. Qiu Qi shook his head. It seems to have pierced through space. But why is there no visible wounds on the four-armed old man's body? It doesn't seem to be a space-type true meaning. He was very confident in the aspect of space. I couldn't tell either. Si Kongyang frowned and shook his head. If it was a sword or some other thin weapon, it would be fine. If it was a space-type attack, it would be fine. Dongbu Shuang clearly used his long spear to pierce through the four-armed old man. The long spear was so thick, but there weren't any visible wounds. Do you think that the four-armed old man who died under this move was an embryonic form of a grade 2 or grade 1 true meaning? Gong Yu suddenly asked. Chapter 157. We can only see simple battle scenes. Qi Qiubai laughed, and that four-armed old man died under that move, so he can understand how powerful that move is. He suspects that it is an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning or even an embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning. There must be a reason behind it. Rank 1. I don't even dare to think about it. Abbot Si Kongyang shook his head. Grade 1 true meaning. In the countless worlds, even in the immortal world, this was the pinnacle of true intent, a legend among legends. Just from the names of the grade 2 true meanings, true meaning of annihilation, true meaning of reincarnation, true meaning of time stop, true meaning of yin-yang, true meaning of space, true meaning of lepton, and so on, one could deduce how terrifying these true meanings were. There was no need to even mention the grade 1 true meanings that were above them. Every single grade 1 true meaning represented the essence of a certain aspect of the world. I reckon that this transcendent native has too little experience. Gong Yu laughed, however, to be able to complete the Mountain Road mission, Dongbu Shuiying's combat experience, weapons, and secret techniques aren't considered perfect. In addition to that battle scene, I feel that there is more than an 80% chance that it should be the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. I'm also leaning towards the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, the black-haired old man said. Who would have thought that our Xia people would give birth to yet another powerful expert with a grade 2 true meaning? Si Kongyang sighed. He laughed self-mockingly. And he was almost destroyed by my hands. Previously, it was just a suspicion. But after seeing the battle and hearing what the four-armed old man said before his death, the possibility of Dongbu Shuang grasping hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning had greatly increased. The way you suppressed Dongbu Shuang previously was very powerful. The black-haired old man said. This time, you have to make up for it. Of course, he will correct his mistakes. Abbot Si Kongyang nodded and said, I will put him first in the ranking. First place? Qi Qiubai laughed. Definitely number 1. Even if he doesn't have the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, just the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning is enough. Si Kongyang said, none of the other young transcendents have grasped the embryonic form of their true meaning, but Dongbu Shuang has grasped it and he's so young. Furthermore, it was highly possible that he had grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. That's right, everyone, please don't leak this battle scene. Try to keep Dongbui Shuiying's strength a secret. Don't worry, it will only be limited to the 4 of us. The black-haired old man, Palace Lord Chen, nodded. Let's tell others that Dongbui Shuiying has grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning. When the time comes, we'll remind Dongbui Shuiying. There are also some life-saving treasures that need to be prepared. Si Kongyang said, we'll have to trouble you, old Chen. Our Water Daoist faction's treasures are still not enough. Definitely. Palace Lord Chen did not object at all. The authority of the Infernal Palace Lord was huge. Because of his absolute loyalty, he had control over some of the treasures of the Xia people. Clearly, Dongbui Shuiying's current status had skyrocketed, and he was worthy of the protection of the Xia people. The 4 demigods discussed and formulated a plan to protect Dongbui Shuiying's growth. And at the end of the mountain road, which was also the peak of this towering mountain, Dongbui Shuiying himself was not in a hurry to descend the mountain. I can't look down on Saint Transcendence. Dongbui Shuiying looked at the corpse of the 4-armed old man in front of him. He was reflecting on this battle and learning from it. Just like the 2 native transcendents he met in the second section of the mountain road. Even though they were peak stage Saint Transcendents, their comprehension of the realms was too low. They only had strength and speed. The moment they were suppressed in terms of their comprehension of the realms, they would be easily killed. But this 4-armed old man was completely different. The Xia people even forbade him from using any transcendent weapons. He fought with his bare fists. Even so, because he had grasped hold of the grade 7 true meaning, the true meaning of water waves, he was able to unleash his full strength, causing Dongbui Shuiying to be battered and exhausted. When their weapons clashed, he was still heavily injured. If he did not break through, he would have to admit defeat in despair and let the weapon spirit save him. If he was too slow in asking for help, he might even lose his life. Even though I've broken through, Dongbui Shuiying thought, but those truly powerful peak stage Saint Transcendents usually have powerful weapons and grasp hold of their true meanings. I still can't look down on them. The embryonic form of my true meaning has to be perfected. My combat power has to become stronger. Only when he grasped hold of his true meaning would he have the qualifications to look down on the world. Right now, he was still too naive. This time, the embryonic form of my true meaning. Dongbui Shuiying extended his finger, lightly swiping it in front of his eyes. 3 profound mysteries revolved around his finger, casually piercing through space. The space was stacked layer by layer, piercing through many layers. At the moment when he pierced through space, Dongbui Shuiying's soul once again felt that illusory scene. In that vast world, there was only a huge sphere that was slowly rotating, the end of everything, the beginning of everything. The origin of time and space. Everything in the world had converged into one. All the profound mysteries that he could sense and understand had converged into one. Cultivators could comprehend all sorts of profound mysteries from the world, but at this moment, he felt as though everything in the world had condensed into a sphere, a complete point. Extremity. Dongbui Shuiying could still feel his heart beating very quickly. His finger lightly swiped in front of his eyes. Layers of space seemed to have been pierced through, and even the flow of time was disrupted. Under this piercing, all the natural energies in the world seemed to have evaded like waves, easily piercing through. Is that the extremity? The myriad existences return to one, the end of all cultivation, and also the beginning of everything. Dongbui Shuiying did not dare believe that he could actually touch upon the most superficial layer of that extremity. But no matter what, it was still related to the true meaning of extremity. This should be considered a branch of the true meaning of extremity. If I really have to give it a name, it should be the true meaning of extreme piercing, Dongbui Shuiying thought. The true meaning of extreme piercing was a branch of the true meaning of extremity. It should be a grade 2 true meaning. The true meaning of extremity itself was extremely perfect. Everything had converged into one, and it had a frightening offensive and defensive power. It could even affect time and space itself. After all, to be able to become a grade 1 true meaning, it should be perfect without flaws. As for the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind, they did not have the qualifications to condense such a perfect embryonic form of a true meaning. Water, fire, and wind. Water and fire complemented each other, causing their power to soar. Wind aided the power of fire. Fire aided the power of wind. Wind aided the power of the waves, while the waves increased the power of the wind. The three complemented each other, allowing their power to continuously overlap, and finally, under the perfect fusion of the three profound mysteries, they converged into a point, which then pierced through and destroyed all obstructions. Even though it only represented a branch of the true meaning of extremity, the embryonic form of the true meaning of extreme piercing, the penetrative power it possessed was extremely terrifying. Extreme piercing represented a purely offensive aspect of the true meaning of extremity. It contained a frightening penetrative power. Under the extremity, everything could be pierced through. It was a purely offensive true meaning. True meanings were also categorized. For example, Cho Chi Bai's true meaning of void cleavage and Elder Ao Lan's true meaning of life were both grade 3 true meanings. Why was Cho Chi Bai recognized as the number one true meaning under the heavens? It was because Cho Chi Bai's true meaning of void cleavage was a true meaning that walked the path of extreme offense, causing it to be extremely frightening during battles. It was the same logic. The true meaning of extreme piercing was a grade 2 true meaning that walked the path of extreme offense. That was why the four-armed old man felt that this embryonic form of a true meaning was too frightening. He even suspected that it was the embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning. In reality, this was indeed the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. It was just that it was a true meaning that walked the path of extreme. The three profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were fused in different ways, resulting in different results. Previously, when he fused them together, it allowed Dongbui Shuang to grasp the grade 3 true meaning of illusions, the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. At that time, Dongbui Shuang was not satisfied. Only now, when he fused them together, did Dongbui Shuang reach the pinnacle of perfection of the fusion of water, fire, and wind. Water, fire, and wind were destined to specialize in offense. In terms of defense and other aspects, they were still lacking. The true meaning of extreme piercing is already quite amazing. Dongbui Shuang frowned. His rationality told him that this was already very amazing. However, his heart was still not satisfied. What I'm pursuing is the pinnacle of spear techniques. In terms of offense, I'm very satisfied. But for a true pinnacle spear technique, just offense alone is enough? Dongbui Shuang shook his head. I'll continue to improve on the true meaning of extreme piercing, making it even stronger in terms of offense. However, the other aspects have to be perfected as well. After making up his mind, Dongbui Shuang took a step forward and flew out of the mountain peak. He arced across the sky and flew towards the bamboo house mountain in the distance. At this moment, the other four silhouettes flew over as well, heading towards Dongbui Shuang. Bamboo House Mountain. Hot spring water permeated the air. Within a bamboo house, a purple-robed senior sister Zhuai walked out of her house. She stood in the courtyard of her own bamboo house and looked at the beautiful scenery. She was in an extremely good mood. Big Brother Eternal Wind is such a good person. He's so diligent even when guiding others. Senior sister Zhuai had a smile on her face. He doesn't have a wife either. I don't believe that he won't be moved after a long time. Zhuai was very confident in herself. She had long since looked down on those transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Situ Hong was an idiot who was fickle in love. That Dongbui Shuang might be young, but he had no future at all. Big Brother Eternal Wind is still the best. The more Zhuai interacted with Cho Chi Bai, the more she was infatuated with him. It was a pity that Cho Chi Bai didn't have any interest in her at all. However, Zhuai still felt that as time passed, she would be able to succeed. Zhuai looked at the jade pillar in the courtyard suspiciously. On the jade pillar was the latest ranking of the transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. Ranking 1, Dongbui Shuang, Profound Mysteries of Water, Fire, and Wind, 3rd level. Completed the Mountain Road Life-Death mission. Jue couldn't help but widen her eyes. She then rubbed her eyes and looked at it carefully again. Chapter 158. Jue looked at it again and again. At this moment, her emotions were complicated. She had a good impression of this junior disciple of hers, Dongbui Shuang, because he was young and had decent looks. It was just that as Dongbui Shuang stubbornly walked down the wrong path in his cultivation, the two of them gradually drifted apart. Actually, if Dongbui Shuang was only ranked first, she would not be so shocked. However, completing the Mountain Road Life-Death mission had truly stimulated her. Because completing this mission meant that he should have grasped hold of the embryonic form of a Grade 3 true meaning. She did not dare to think about the embryonic form of a Grade 2 true meaning. However, once Dongbui Shuang grasped hold of the embryonic form of a Grade 3 true meaning, it would not take long before he grasped the complete Grade 3 true meaning. In the future, he might even be comparable to Qiu Qibai. Even Qiu Qibai did not grasp hold of a Grade 3 true meaning so quickly. Dongbui Shuang was too young, and he might even be able to condense a Grade 3 true meaning, the true deity heart. How could this be? Jue felt complicated. At this moment, she felt that the gap between them was no longer on the same level. Dongbui Shuang was destined to stand at the apex of the entire Xia people's world. Ha ha ha, it's just a small matter. I settled it in a single move. It's not worth mentioning. Within a private room of a restaurant in the Xia capital, Situ Hong was currently drinking wine with two other Sky Realm Transcendents. To Brother Situ, it might be a small matter. However, to us, it was a life and death crisis. Fortunately, Brother Situ came with us to accept the mission. Otherwise, one of us would have died. The black plump man beside him laughed. Come come come, let's drink. We won't say much about this life-saving grace. We'll remember it in our hearts. Drink. Drink. Brother Situ's combat power is truly unfathomable. Amongst the Sky Realm Transcendents, I'm afraid no one is stronger than you. From what I see, most middle-stage saints aren't Brother Situ's opponent. Middle-stage saint? Humph. I just want to temper myself during the Sky Realm so that my foundation will be more solid. If I really want to break through, I can break through at any time. Situ Hong boasted. The reason why he stayed at the Sky Realm was so that he could eat more precious spirit liquids in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. With his long time of cultivation and the fact that he had reached the 3rd level of the profound mysteries of space, he was indeed able to break through at any time with his transcendent Do Qi. But he endured it. Enjoy those resources. Brother Situ is amazing. For the sake of a more solid foundation, you would rather stay longer. I'm impressed. The other two transcendents continued to flatter him. In the world of transcendence, strength still mattered. Situ Hong's strength was indeed one of the top amongst the Sky Realm Transcendents. In fact, he would definitely step into the Saint Realm. Naturally, he would be flattered. Situ Hong was also very happy. Being with these weaker transcendents from the outside made him very happy. This feeling of being flattered was something he enjoyed very much. Situ Hong suddenly frowned. When Yong'an, who had a good relationship with everyone in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, had sent him a message, Rank 1, Dongbui Shuang, Profound Mysteries of Water, Fire, and Wind, completed the Mountain Road Life and Death mission. Junior Wen, are you sure? Situ Hong was stunned for a moment before asking. Why don't you come to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world and take a look at the pillar? When Yong'an didn't explain further. Mountain Road mission. Situ Hong didn't dare to believe it. This Dongbui Shuang can complete it? He had tried it before, but it was too difficult. The second stage of the Mountain Road's soul pressure made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Those two were transcendent natives at the peak of the Saint Realm. Not to mention the even more difficult Mountain Road's 3rd stage. His strength is higher than mine. Situ Hong was both angry and unwilling to believe it. In terms of ranking, Dururu was previously ranked first. But he was at the third level of the profound mysteries of space. He believed that his strength was number one in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. He had tried the Mountain Road mission before, and knew how terrifying it was. He understood that Dongbush Shuang might really be stronger than him. I haven't even grasped the embryonic form of a true meaning, but he has. Situ Hong gritted his teeth. He remembered the prophecy Qiu Qibai gave him. To grasp the true meaning, he would need to spend at least 10 times the amount of time needed to step into the third level of the realms of myriad existences. Wait and see. I will definitely grasp the true meaning of spatial fissure, and in the future, I will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the eternal Wind Knight. I will stand at the peak of the Xia people's world. Dongbush Shuang will still be trampled beneath my feet. Situ Hong gritted his teeth. He felt as though his heart was being bitten by ants. Let's not talk about the reactions of the young transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world when they received the news. Dongbush Shuang had just flown down from the mountain peak when he met 4 demigod existences. Dongbush Shuang was shocked. He immediately stopped in midair. Who? The 4 demigods flew over together. Greetings, everyone. Dongbush Shuang bowed respectfully. You don't have to be so polite. Snow Eagle, you have really given us old fellows a shock. Faction head Si Kong Yang smiled, his eyes filled with expectations. At that moment, Shuang felt awkward and uncomfortable. How long had it been? It should have been close to 15 years. The faction head had never given him a good attitude. It was only during the early days that he became amiable. Dongbush Shuang, Infernal Palace Lord Chen asked from the side, have you grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning? At that moment, Qiu Qibai, Si Kong Yang, and Gong Yu all stared at Dongbush Shuang. Dongbush Shuang was startled. The Infernal Palace treasure spirit definitely knew about his battle. This Palace Lord Chen probably knew about the general situation as well. It's an embryonic form of a true meaning that has never been recorded in the history of the Xia people. Dongbush Shuang was very clear about when he should be high profile and when he should be low-key. It was fine for him to use his full strength in the transcendent battle of life and death. But a grade 2 true meaning, there was only one in the entire history of the Xia people. He had grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning at such a young age. Would the Beast Clan and Demonic faction not target him? I'm not sure what grade it is. I've named it True Meaning of Piercing. Dongbush Shuang introduced. When he displayed it, he could faintly sense the existence of extremity. Thus, Dongbush Shuang knew that this was a branch of the true meaning of extremity. He named it True Meaning of Extreme Piercing. Just from its appearance, it was hard to judge. After all, nobody had seen it before. True Meaning of Piercing. Qiu Qibai nodded in agreement. And then, it is indeed an embryonic form of a true meaning with terrifying piercing power. This name is indeed suitable. Si Kong Yang agreed. Can you demonstrate it one more time? Palace Lord Chen asked. Dongbush Shuang hesitated. He wanted to keep a low profile, but Palace Lord Chen's status was special. He was also absolutely loyal to the Xia people. Since he had opened his mouth, demonstrate it one more time. Everyone here is trustworthy, Qiu Qibai said. Furthermore, the moment it was confirmed that this was an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, Palace Lord Chen would bestow some true treasures to the Xia people. At that time, Dongbush Shuaying's survival would definitely not be a problem. Alright. Dongbush Shuaying did not decline anymore. He extended his finger and lightly pierced through the void in front of him. Hua layer after layer of space was pierced through. Every energy in the world, including time, was like a wave that avoided it. Everything was pierced through, and even the flow of time was affected. Qi Qiubai, Palace Lord Chen, Si Kong Yang, and Gong Yu were all mesmerized by this simple demonstration. They could feel the profound mysteries contained within. All energy can be pierced through. Chi Chiu Bai muttered, "It seems like all the profound mysteries that I can sense have been pierced through. No wonder I can't see any injuries. This kind of piercing through using the laws of profound mysteries makes even the size of space meaningless. An embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning." Si Kong Yang was slightly excited. This true meaning of piercing is able to pierce through everything. It's even more tyrannical than Eternal Wind's true meaning of void cleavage. Palace Lord Chen was originally inclined towards a grade 2 true meaning. At this moment, after seeing the demonstration, he no longer had any doubts. Even though they did not know much about the legendary grade 1 and grade 2 true meanings in the deity world, they still had the right to speak about grade 3 true meanings. But when it came to a grade 3 true meaning, they still had the right to speak about it. They had personally witnessed how powerful a grade 3 true meaning was. The embryonic form of the true meaning of piercing was already so frightening. It definitely surpassed a grade 3 true meaning. He has the qualifications to obtain all these. Palace Lord Chen no longer had any doubts. Palace Lord Chen extended his hand, causing the void beside him to distort. Immediately, 2 items appeared from the distorted void. Chapter 159. Dongbua Shuang stared blankly at the scene in front of him. Teleportation through the void to retrieve items. 2 items appeared from the distorted void. With a glance, Shuang could tell that one of them was a ring filled with vitality. Looking at that ring, it was as if he could see an endless amount of life energy. He could see grass growing from the ground and mountain rocks, and he could see countless trees uprooting from the ground. This feeling of life energy had affected Shui Ying's emotions. So powerful. Every single item can affect my heart and soul. Dongbua Shuang was inwardly shocked. He then looked at the other item. The other item was a greenish-gray wristband that looked ordinary. If it was thrown into the trash, Dongbua Shuang would not notice anything special about it. Dongbua Shuang. Palace Lord Chen extended his hand to grab these 2 items, smiling. Ever since the birth of our Xia people, there has only been one person who has grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning. You will be the second in our Xia people's history. When that time comes, you will stand above all other demigods, truly unparalleled. Those transcendent worlds where the beast clan hides, you will be able to sweep through them. It was just like how some of the humans' trump cards were hidden in the transcendent worlds. The true treasures of the beast clan were also hidden in the transcendent worlds. That was because deities could not enter the transcendent worlds. It was very safe there. The native transcendents and the beast clan will suffer a huge blow to their vitality. I'm afraid that they will not be able to recover even after tens of thousands of years. Palace Lord Chen smiled. Our Xia people will welcome even better opportunities, giving us an even greater advantage. As this advantage continues to accumulate, there will be a day when the beast clan will be completely exiled by us. This mortal world will truly become a paradise for us Xia people. Dongbua Shuang nodded. This was what the transcendence of every generation of the Xia people had been chasing after. The struggle for survival did not allow for any mercy. If the humans retreated, the beast clan would advance. Both sides had always been fighting, and the resources within the transcendent worlds were also fought over by both sides. Due to the strength of the Xia people, the relationship between the transcendent natives and the beast clan was closer. The secret of you grasping the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning is only known by us 4 demigods. Palace Lord Chen said. You must not leak this information to anyone else. The most you can do is say that you have grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning. After all, no matter how powerful a genius is, if he is not fully matured, he will still be very weak and can be easily killed. Only when you have truly grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning will you have the confidence to deal with those demigods. Understood. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Of course, no matter how careful we are, the secret could still be leaked. Palace Lord Chen continued, therefore, we must plan for 2 options. These 2 treasures were left behind by the ancestors of the Xia people who became gods. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes lit up. This ring is a protective treasure refined by the Purple Thunder Emperor after he became a god. Palace Lord Chen said. As long as you drip a drop of blood on it, you can control it. When you meet with danger, you can activate it with just a thought. It will immediately form a purple lightning barrier around your body, filled with endless life force. It is comparable to a full-powered attack from the Purple Thunder Emperor. If the demigods want to destroy this purple lightning barrier, they will need the time taken to brew a cup of tea. However, once the energy contained within it is exhausted, it will become useless. Thus, it is a one-time use item. Dongbua Shuang sighed in admiration. The Purple Thunder Emperor? Wasn't that the Purple Thunder Emperor, Yao Qingtian, who took it upon himself to save lives? The true meaning of Purple Thunder he cultivated was a combination of lightning and life force, a grade 3 true meaning. Becoming a deity with a grade 3 true meaning was already extremely powerful. His all-out protection was indeed enough to make demigods despair. It was normal for them to use all their strength to attack crazily for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. However, this item needs to be activated with a thought. We are worried that you will be attacked and will not be able to react in time, Palace Lord Chen said. Thus, we still have another clan protection treasure. Clan protection treasure? Dongbua Shuang looked at the seemingly ordinary green-gray bracelet. This is a unique treasure sent back from the deity world by Emperor Yunhai. Palace Lord Chen said, this bracelet may seem ordinary, but as long as you drip a drop of blood on it, it will recognize you as its owner. It is quite intelligent, and the moment you meet with danger, it will automatically protect you. Don't worry, it is extremely powerful. All sorts of sinister and strange attacks from demigods will not escape its detection. The moment danger appears, it will immediately protect you. Dongbua Shuang felt quite touched. He had displayed his potential, and the Xia people were still putting in a lot of effort to nurture him. Although the ring left behind by the Purple Thunder Emperor was precious, it was still acceptable. As for the seemingly ordinary bracelet, it was known as the clan protection treasure. Accept it. Palace Lord Chen smiled. Alright, Dongbua Shuang did not reject it. He understood it himself. The more benefits he received from the Xia people, the more responsibilities he had to bear. Towards this, Dongbua Shuang did not back down. Very quickly, he dripped his blood on it and recognized it as its owner. Dongbua Shuang could still sense and control the ring, but the green-gray bracelet seemed to be unwilling to communicate with Dongbua Shuang. This was normal. One must know that Dongbua Shuang was only a sky-rank transcendent. His transcendent battle chi was unable to activate a demigod equipment. A sky-rank transcendent could only activate a saint-rank weapon at most. A saint-rank transcendent could only activate a demigod equipment at most. Only demigods could use demigod equipment. Thus, a unique treasure that could protect a sky-rank transcendent was extremely rare. Only the Xia people had a deep foundation. If it was the demonic beast clan, they would not be able to casually give away two such precious treasures. Oh right, Snow Eagle, with your current strength, you might even be able to challenge the 100 Battles Chamber. Chi Chiu Bai smiled. When do you intend to challenge it? That's right. You have cultivated for less than 60 years. The moment you clear the 100 Battles Chamber, the rewards will be extremely high. Si Kong Yang's eyes lit up. 100 Battles Chamber. If a sky-rank transcendent under 60 years old could clear the 100 Battles Chamber, the reward would be 100,000 contribution points. This was because the difficulty of the 100 Battles Chamber was comparable to the mountain road. To be able to complete it before 60 years old, how monstrous must one be? How talented must one be? After 3,000 years of cultivation, how powerful must one be? It was normal to give such a reward. In the past 100,000 years, no one from the Xia people had managed to do it. Dongbua Shuang was very young and his strength was almost sufficient. There was indeed hope for him to do it. There's no rush. Dongbua Shuang smiled. The 100 Battles Chamber can only be attempted once every 10 years. Before 60 years old, I only have one chance left. Naturally, the more confident I am, the better. I am prepared to cultivate for a while longer before attempting it. Calm enough. That's right. You can only attempt it once every 10 years. You have to be careful. Chi Chou Bai said. Even if you succeed in the future, there's no need to announce it. It's better to keep it a secret. Palace Lord Chen said. I will also ask the weapon spirit to pay attention and conceal your battle movements. N. Dongbui Shuang could feel Palace Lord Chen's concern for him. After all, passing the 100 battles chamber before 60 years old was a very eye-catching feat. It was obvious that Palace Lord Chen wanted Dongbui Shuang to keep a low profile. Only when he grasped the true meaning would it be suitable for him to reveal his true strength. Time continued to flow like water, slipping away quietly. No one could nitpick on Dongbui Ying's current cultivation. He could continue to immerse himself in his spear arts. Jing Qiu was also very happy to accompany him. Although Situ Hong was rather unhappy, he could only suppress it in his heart. The other transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain were also stimulated and worked even harder. The days of the transcendents of the Xia people were very orderly. Some of the Sky Realm transcendents continued to accept life and death missions in the infernal world to train themselves. Some had already given up and returned to their hometowns in despair. As for the Saint Realm transcendents, they formed groups and ventured into the mysterious small transcendent worlds. They risked their lives and fought for transcendent resources. The demigod overlords oversaw the various places and protected the safety of the Xia people. At the same time, they were also cultivating in seclusion to become gods. However, these peaceful days, on a day in the winter of Dragon Mountain calendar year 9661, it was completely broken. South Zither Province, a fertile province. In the sky above a nameless mountain peak in the South Qin Province, a deep and unfathomable force was transmitted from afar, forcefully tearing apart the space of the material world. Not only the material space and the shadow space's membrane walls, even the outermost membrane walls were completely penetrated. An ugly and malevolent deep crack was formed. On the other side of the crack, it led to a world filled with the aura of destruction. Through the deep crack, one could faintly see the burning flames on the other side. This is... A creature with a tail and fiery red scales crawled out from the deep crack, looking around cautiously. As a creature of the dark abyss, it had always been very cautious. This. It suddenly opened its dark yellow eyes wide, filled with shock. It took a deep breath, its entire body trembling with excitement. The aura of a human soul, this is the smell of a human soul. It's too delicious, too delicious. It actually brought me to the mortal world. It immediately split out a doppelganger and entered the deep crack to call for its companions. The mortal world was not so easy to conquer. It required sufficient companions. Soon. A large group of evil demons passed through the deep crack. All of them greedily looked at this foreign world, smelling the smell of humans everywhere in this world. All of them trembled with excitement. The environment of the dark abyss was too dangerous. Even the deities of the deity world feared it. Comparatively speaking, the mortal world was like a paradise in their dreams. Moreover, the souls of humans in the mortal world were the most delicious and the best nourishment for their growth. Hurry, this spatial crack has only formed for a short period of time. The mortal world is recovering and will not be able to hold on for much longer. Hurry. The evil demons were densely packed as they crazily entered the mortal world. The moment they entered the mortal world, they turned into streams of light and disappeared in all directions. Suddenly, space distorted. A human woman emitting a dazzling purple light appeared out of nowhere. When she saw the scene in front of her, her expression changed and she angrily shouted, "Evil demons! All of you, die!" Boom! Countless dazzling purple flames covered the sky and swept in all directions. In an instant, some of the weaker evil demons were turned into ashes. Then, a tall evil demon whose entire body was ice blue reached out with his palm. After his palm struck out, the space around him started to freeze. The freezing spread out and directly collided with the endless purple flames. In an instant, the two forces sizzled and continuously consumed each other. It's a divine weapon. It's a human demigod transcendent. This mortal world is our hunting ground. However, we must be careful of the human transcendence here. Let's go. The tall evil demon resisted for a moment. Very quickly, he took a step forward and disappeared. At this moment, the deep spatial crack had already started to close up. Only a few evil demons were still crazily trying to enter the mortal world of the Xia people. Some were directly crushed by the closing spatial crack, letting out howls of unwillingness. Damn it, evil demons, die for me. The eyes of City Lord Bu, who was bathed in purple light, were filled with killing intent and anger. Countless purple flames surged in all directions, burning the slow-escaping evil demons to ashes. The surroundings were silent. However, even more powerful evil demons had already infiltrated the mortal world. This time, the spatial crack that led to the dark abyss is too big. There are too many evil demons here. Furthermore, the powerful evil demon that I fought just now was actually able to resist the might of a divine weapon. City Lord Bu, who was bathed in purple light, had an ashen expression. She did not dare to delay and immediately sent the news back to the Infernal Palace, informing all the demigods of the Xia people. End of this chapter. Has everyone cast their monthly votes? Please vote and support us. Chapter 160. Winter. On the third floor of an elegant restaurant in the Xia capital, there was a thick layer of snow, and cold air pervaded the air. But inside the restaurant, it was very warm. A pot of wine was being warmed. Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu sat opposite each other, drinking delicious fruit wine and casually chatting. There were other customers on the third floor, but their seats were quite far away from each other. Since the Transcendents knew each other, they would at most nod their heads to acknowledge each other, but not disturb each other. Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu clearly enjoyed such an environment. Jing Qiu, the temple head praised you yesterday, and your ranking has risen to 4th place. Dongbua Shuang praised, everyone says that transcendent mages improve slowly, but from what I see, your improvement is quite fast. Jing Qiu smiled happily and took a sip of her wine. Her lips curled into a proud smile as she said, "What's wrong? You're already ranked first and you can't even tolerate others improving a little?" "That's not what I mean," Dongbua Shuang hurriedly said. "I'm just joking. To be honest, ever since you've been ranked first, I feel a lot more proud. My spell research has become much smoother, and I've had many breakthroughs." Jing Qiu laughed, "My mood and cultivation have been very smooth. Actually, I've long felt that they've been unfair to you. This time, they've finally cleared your name. You care too much about these superficial things." Dongbua Shuang shook his head. I was very unhappy when I heard the temple head reprimanding you." Jing Qiu shook her head, and then her eyes lit up. "Oh right, this time, you've slapped his face. When you completed the mountain path mission, when he saw you, his expression was very awkward, right? Was it very ugly?" "It's not what you think. Temple head Si Kong Yang is also a magnanimous person. Previously, he only reprimanded me because he felt that I've gone astray," Dongbua Shuang said. As the two of them conversed, they used the heaven and earth energy to isolate themselves from detection. No one would deliberately eavesdrop on a conversation between transcendents. That would be very impolite and rash. Suddenly, the faces of the 3 transcendents at the table beside them turned pale with fright. One of them even stood up, causing the wine pot on the table to be flipped over and the wine spilled all over the floor. This caused the waiter on the 3rd floor to hurry over. Dongbua Shuang, Jing Qiu, and the transcendents at the other table looked over in confusion. "What's wrong with them?" Jing Qiu was shocked. As transcendents, how could they lose their composure like this? They even spilled the wine. Look at how shocked the 3 of them are. Something big must have happened that is related to them. Dongbui Shuang held onto his wineglass calmly. Everyone. One of the three transcendents with disheveled hair swept his gaze across the other two tables and shouted, Brother Dongbui, Brother Weiyan, do you know anything about the demon? What's wrong? Dongbui Shui Ying's table and the transcendents at the other table were all very curious. This majestic man was called Rong Jun. He was a saint transcendent and was quite famous in the Xia capital. It seems that everyone still doesn't know. Rong Jun said, I just received news that my hometown, Kangan County in the Eastfield province, the entire county has been massacred. What? Dongbui Shuang, Yu Jingqiu, and the other two transcendents at the other table all stood up in shock. An entire county had been massacred? County cities had a long history and many defenses. At the same time, there were tens of millions of people living here. An entire county had been massacred? This was simply a shocking matter. Not a single transcendent would dare to do such a thing. Even the beast race, unless both sides were engaged in a life-and-death war, they would not dare to do such a thing. The moment they did such a thing, it would infuriate the Xia people. The Xia people would not hesitate to pay any price for their revenge. How is this possible? Who would dare to do such a thing? Dongbui Shuang asked, Brother Rong Jun, did you just say demon? Could it be the demon? But how long has it been since an abyss demon has appeared? Even if there are demons lurking around, they wouldn't dare to do such a thing. That's right, Brother Rong Jun. Even though I heard that there are a few abyss demons lurking around, they are all extremely careful. How would they dare to show themselves? Another transcendent, Weiyan, could not help but say. I'm not sure either. Rong Jun said, but I can confirm that it was an extremely powerful demon that wantonly massacred. Also, a demigod from the Xia people arrived and engaged in a huge battle. The commotion caused by the battle was extremely huge, and the aura of the demon covered the entire sky. Even from far away, one could feel the terrifying aura of the dark and destructive devil. I'm not too sure about the details, but when some of my clan's subordinates followed the commotion and headed to the city to investigate, they discovered that the entire city was deathly silent. Countless corpses lay there, and although they did not have any wounds, they were all dead. No wounds. The faces of Dongbui Shuang and the rest changed. To cause a city with a population of over 10 million to die without any wounds on their bodies, such a method was simply unheard of. Amongst the demigods, there might be a handful who could do such a thing, but they would never dare to do such a thing. What exactly happened? Jing Qiu could not help but ask. Why would such a powerful demon appear? The demigods of the Xia people are overseeing the various regions. Why would they allow the demons to massacre an entire city? Let's ask Big Brother Eternal Wind. Jing Qiu said. Yes, he should know more. Dongbui Shuang immediately asked Qi Qiubai through his communication wristband. It was not only Dongbui Shuang and the rest. At this moment, many of the transcendents in the Xia capital had received all sorts of news from their hometowns. This was because the transcendents and their own clans could communicate through their communication wristbands. There were all sorts of news. For example, there were some earth-shattering battles. The commotion was so great that it could destroy the heavens and the earth. Another example was the discovery of a few demons from the abyss who wantonly massacred them, only to be killed by a powerful transcendent who rushed over. For a county to be massacred, such a thing was extremely rare. After all, the defenses of the county were very strong. Furthermore, the area it covered was very large. How vast was the area where 10 million people lived? To exterminate 10 million people in such a short period of time. Only the most powerful of demons would be able to do so. What exactly happened? Why are there so many traces of demons? Why are the demigod elders not saying a single word about it? The transcendents in the Xia capital were all gathered together, exchanging information. However, they knew very little. They could only make some deductions based on small clues. On the top floor of a restaurant. The entire top floor had been booked. A group of transcendents from the Tranquil Sun province were gathered here. all of them were anxious and uneasy. Because it was not a special day, Hai Ruzhen, Peng Shan and a few other transcendents were temporarily at their hometowns. Everyone, don't be anxious. Dongbui Shuang spoke. Now that Qi Qiu Bai and Peng Shan were not around, he had temporarily become the leader. Big Brother Eternal Wind also sent us a message, telling us not to be anxious and to wait. I believe there will be news very soon. I don't know what happened either. It should be the invasion of the demons. I wonder what level of invasion they are at. Sigh. These transcendents were extremely uneasy. From the information they gathered, the traces of the demons had appeared in almost every corner of the Dragon Mountain Empire of the Xia people. The battles were also very intense. Clearly, the demons that were heading towards the Dragon Mountain Empire were those powerful demigod overlords who could easily traverse through space. Chapter 1. Chapter 2 was coming soon.